Denver, Colorado. It is Thursday, June
20th. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center, and most of the time pretty crazy as well. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So get that coffee brewing, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. You're not going to want to miss this. Today's show is going to be wild. Peter Yu joining us in the 8 o'clock hour in studio. He's running for Congressional District 4, followed by one of his opponents, Lauren Boebert, live in studio, will be joining us in the 9 o'clock hour. Before that, we're going to dive into the true cost that homelessness is bringing to the city of Denver. You won't believe these numbers. And then when you add on top of that, illegal immigration, and some of these plans, these universal income plans, it gets so expensive. These costs were shocking to me. I mean, per person, you're going to hear this in a second, we're basically spending $28,000 per homeless person to house them. Think about what your mortgage costs a year. That is basically what the city of Denver is spending per person. And is it working? Is it actually getting people out of homelessness? Of course not. We'll get into that and more. But let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 56 and partly cloudy in Denver. Expecting highs in the low 90s today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, the White House reportedly canceled a high-level meeting with Israeli officials on Iran that was scheduled for Thursday. Today, Axios reports the move was in response to a video posted by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in which he claimed the U.S. was withholding military aid. U.S. and Israeli officials were expected to discuss Iran's nuclear program and the ongoing war in Gaza. The U.S. Supreme Court will issue opinions today and tomorrow, as it still has some major decisions to hand down before it's expected to recess at the end of the month. Among them are a ruling on former President Trump's claim that he is immune from prosecution for alleged crimes committed while in office. An investigation is ongoing after two boys were shot at an Aurora apartment complex on Wednesday afternoon at the Meadowlark Apartments. The victims, 12 and 14 years old, were found wounded and taken to a hospital to be treated for non-life-threatening injuries. At least 4 teenagers detained after the shooting, but no charges have been filed. One person believed to be involved in the shooting may still be at large. Aurora police searching for a suspect following 2 attempted armed home invasions. Both attempted break-ins happened Friday near South Peoria and South Parker Road. A masked man pounded on the door of one home with the butt of a gun, but then left when nobody answered, and then tried to push his way into another house. When the homeowner opened the door, she was able to close the door and call for help. Police say the suspect left in a dark SUV, and anyone with information should contact the Aurora Police Department. A Fox News poll is showing President Biden ahead of former President Trump for the first time since October. It shows Biden with a 2-point lead over Trump, but CNN's Frank Luntz sees it differently.
I don't think the media understands exactly what's going on right now. Yes, Trump dropped a few points after being found guilty on 34 felony accounts. But remember this, that would have destroyed any candidate as recently as 10 years ago. And the fact that Donald Trump is still even with, or in some cases leading Joe Biden after being found guilty of 34 felonies, oh my God.
Douglas County authorities say a teenager is suspected of starting a brush fire near a Castle Pines neighborhood on Tuesday. The fire burned shrubbery and fire crews extinguished the flames before they threatened homes. Containment in the fire at Twin Lakes near Leadville is up to 86%, enough to reopen part of the area. It has burned 745 acres.
I was just trying to get a ball up in the zone, allowed me to drive the ball somewhere in the air and deep enough to where I can score Jake. And he got me a slider up in the zone, put a decent swing on it, and hit it deep enough to get him in.
Brenton Doyle hit a walk-off sac fly in the bottom of the ninth as the Rockies beat the Dodgers 7-6 at Coors. Rockies getaway day today for the Dodgers at Coors, 1:10. The Nationals at the Rocks tomorrow night. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace and patio and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. 54 in Highlands Ranch, 53 in Glendale, 56 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It is Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast, partly cloudy to cloudy, warmer, upper 80s and lower 90s with afternoon and evening thunderstorms and showers likely, a few of which could get strong. Watch out for a few strong thunderstorms with heavy rain and hail this afternoon and evening. Lows tonight, low 60s. We do it all over again, upper 80s Friday, and Friday also will bring a good chance of showers and storms. Warm for the weekend, but less in the way of thunderstorms. Still have some isolated ones, but not as many. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now, there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're going to have a great morning this morning. You're going to want to stick with us through the entire show. In the 8 o'clock hour, Peter Yu. He's running for Congress, Congressional District 4. He's one of those 6 candidates. Includes Jerry Sonnenberg, Mike Lynch, Lauren Boebert, Deborah Flora, competing for that seat. And following him, right after that, Lauren Boebert's going to join us. And I think she's got the, as we turn the corner here, she's the lead horse out there.
Do you think they're going to fight in the hall? I mean, this is awkward.
Knowing Peter Yu, yes.
Yeah, of
He's
course.
like literally the nicest guy in politics.
Yeah, he is.
And I haven't gotten to spend a lot of time with him, so I'm really excited to get to know him better. And then we'll hear from Lauren. Is she planning to spike the football on Tuesday?
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
a lot of polls saying she's the win. She's out in the lead right now.
Yeah, it does seem to be hers to lose at this point. But again, that's kind of what we thought when she jumped into the race and switched districts. That because of the demographics, because of the change of scenery, and because of name ID and that all-important bank account, that it really was hers to lose. And I've been watching some of the fundraising. Some of the fundraising has been very interesting as far as who's raising money, who isn't.
Yeah, what do you see?
Kind of,
I have not looked.
Oh, some of it has been very interesting as far as the amount. Lauren is just lapping everybody. I mean, it's not even close. Peter's struggling. Peter's not making a lot of money. There's not a lot of donations pouring in. But again, you'd assume because the money chases a winner, because you want to support the winner. It's pretty much what you saw. Deb Flora doing okay. Her fundraising is interesting, although expenditures different. This is what I was looking for, honestly. Rather than the fundraising numbers, I was looking to see who was spending on media.
Well, we know one is
spending
with ads on 710 KNUS.
Yeah, exactly.
And the
so
other 5 are not.
That's what I wanted to know. I was like, because I saw that Sonnenberg's running ads, and there are a couple of others, and that Mike Lynch had a couple of stuff as far as media. But again, it's media classification, so it doesn't mean they're spending it on radio. So I'm not necessarily jealous. I just want to see. And now I could have misread the information because I do that often. But it looked like that Flora had not been spending on media. And that's interesting. That was the outlier in it. But you didn't have enough money to really spend anything on media. He had loaned himself some money. Yeah. But so, and he's probably gonna be able to pay that back, but his fundraising is coming in. But that was the one interesting thing, is that out of all of it, I didn't see Deb, and they could be doing it differently, but based on the reporting that I saw, Deb wasn't spending on media, which I'm like, hey, you were a talk show host here.
Right.
And again, I'm not telling her she has to spend money here with us. Okay, yes, I am. I'm telling her she has to. I'm sorry, I'm teasing. I tease.
And yes. CD4 is a unique district too, so you can, and I've talked with plenty of candidates about this. You can win in this district with mail.
Absolutely, yeah, because of the demographics,
and because we're all spread out so far. Like if you were going to walk and knock doors in my neighborhood in the course of an hour,
that's funny.
You'd hit 5 homes.
Really? Wow. Because
we're all on acreage with ranches.
Yeah.
So
I was curious about that because it is mailer season in my house, where 2/3 of anything in the mailbox is some sort of a political ad.
Yep.
And yesterday it was another door knocker. And we average about one every 2 to 3 days. If not every other day, it's every 3 days. Someone comes in.
And you guys are registered independents?
We are registered. We have one person in the house that's registered as a Dem,
yeah.
Oddly enough. And so that's interesting. Everybody else in the house, and we've got now 5 of us.
So who's visited you guys?
Votes. Gosh. I have to tell you. Oh, we don't answer the door when we see them. I just don't. And part of it is because it's an awkward conversation if I answer the door. It becomes a real awkward conversation.
They recognize your voice all of a sudden.
No,
hey, I know your voice.
No, I just can't. I can't shut up. So I'm like, wait, what about this? What about
this? Does that happen when the Storm and Mormons show up too?
Yeah, that does. Yeah, I oftentimes trying to convert them to go to my church.
And, I bet they get a lot of that out there.
And do not be a roofer coming to my house. Don't do that. That is an incredibly bad idea, because not only do I can't shut up, but also my wife worked in insurance for well over a decade. And part of early on in her career was home damage adjustments. Yeah. So there are some things in there in which she's like, no. And so, yeah, those people get slapped down pretty easy. There's a guy, there's a Dem, Mike. And again, this shows you how effective the advertising is. Mike something or another that he looks like he could be Phil Weiser's thinner, balder cousin. That's what he looks like. And all of his stuff shows up all the time. In fact, that was the door knocker yesterday. It's Mike something or another. He's a Dem, and he desperately wants to be, he wants to raise his profile. So the stuff comes in, State Senator Mike something or another. It starts with the last name W. But all of his mailers are, again, I watch advertising, marketing, and especially colors. I look at what font you're using. I look at what picture you're using. I look at the colors that are on your mailers. His mailers are green and kind of a gold yellow. It's weird. There's a lot of blue in it as well, but it's not necessarily a sky blue and not really a royal blue. It's kind of in between the two. So for me,
it's Mike Weissman.
That is it. That's exactly who it is. I have no idea.
Your description of a younger, balder Phil Weiser is pretty dang accurate.
Isn't that, right on?
That is great.
It is. And so that's what he looks like. And, I find it interesting that, yes, he's leaning into the blue, which would be the Democrat color, but it isn't the traditional royal or, very broad. It's much softer, which to me tells me a softer sell on the Dem side, because when the Republican stuff shows up, that is a really, really bright red 9 times out of 10. Unless they're trying to convince me they're moderate, and then it's purple.
He lists all of his endorsements in there. Just a parade of Democrats there.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. And
Daphne.
And we get, and
even Timmy Hernandez.
Yeah. And I'm just telling you, he must have a lot of money, because, oh my Lord, do we get a lot of stuff from him? All the time. There are days in which I go to the mailbox and I've got 2 things a day from him. It's just ridiculous.
Do you think it helps, or do you think at this point it's just oversaturation?
I think it's oversaturation. I mean, this is the idea. And you worked in this realm, in this industry. So you understand this better than most people. And this is what I always talk to people about is, okay, I understand that you're viewing these as mailers. I understand you're viewing these as voter outreach. Yeah, exactly. But let's put you in the shoes of the homeowner. The homeowner walks to their mailbox and they pick that out of their mailbox. What do they call it? They call it junk mail.
Junk mail. Yeah. No,
and so that's,
it is.
Yeah, and so it's junk mail. So
I mean, no one's framing them.
Oh no one is. And it's the idea of what I think the only advantage to those mailers is name recognition. It is just a reinforcement of the name recognition over and over and over again, because if you do the mailer properly, even when the person has to pick it out of the pile and throw it in the trash, they still see the name. That is the number one most important thing you need on the front and the back of that mailer. If you can get a picture that looks like you're a younger, more bald Phil Weiser, that's good too. But you need name, and that's all you need out of that mailer. The entire rest of the mailer could be in Spanish or Russian. It wouldn't really matter. That's what you need. Can I remember your name? And is it on the front and the back? So when I throw it away, I'm throwing this name away enough that, yes, eventually it's going to resonate, because there are going to be times in which lower information voters will vote simply because they've seen that name a lot. And that's why you have those yard signs and stuff that show up all sorts over the intersections.
Here's the point in all this is, who's his opponent?
No idea.
See?
No clue.
See, you know the Mike W. You know that you've been hit. You're an independent. Yeah. You've been hit. Senate District 28 in Colorado. Huh. I have no idea.
Yeah, no idea who the opponent is. And that to me,
Pedro.
And that to me is sad.
Pedro Espinoza. That is the Republican candidate.
That's disappointing. Because I don't think I have seen a single mailer. I don't think I've seen a single flyer. And I know for certain there has been no door knockers in our neighborhood for Pedro. Not a single.
Rough name, too. Always bad when you Google.
Yeah.
And murder of Jamil Shaw II pops up. But it has nothing to do with you.
Him. No.
It's that bad name. Pedro Espinoza.
Oh, that is awful. And I'll tell you,
that's a big mountain to climb, man.
That is. And I don't know if they just think that where I live is just, a flood of Democrats. I don't see that in my neighborhood. In fact, I know there are 2 doors down from us. These people are solid Republicans. And next to them, another solid Republicans. Oh, wait, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can count 6. I can count 6 Republican households on my block. And again, that's only anecdotal. I don't know the rest of my neighborhood. I don't go around asking political viewpoints, but just based on conversations. And I know for certain there are 3, incredibly solid Republican houses in our neighborhood. And they are tried and true red votes. And the fact that we're not getting any outreach either means I'm somewhere in a desert, or they don't think this district is competitive in any way, shape, or form, which is interesting.
It has changed, but it was Rhonda Fields's.
Oh,
district.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
that makes sense on that one. But I just thought it was
she
interesting.
won last time by, or I guess I'm not sure. Everything's changing with these new things, but it was about a 61-40.
Yeah, that's not bad. But
39
again, but Rhonda had a higher name recognition. There was a story there. We'll see what Mike, whatever his name. It's so far the story isn't compelling, but damn, I get a lot of stuff from him. A lot of stuff. Well,
Democrats actually winning in Colorado. Yeah, shocking.
That's weird.
Speaking of money, I want to go back to Lauren Boebert real quick.
Yeah,
so
please.
I think these candidates saw an opportunity early on. One, because Buck was coming out. So if you got to remember the timeline here. Buck withdraws, and so you have an opening here. And you had a few people. One guy I think was going to try to challenge Ken Buck to a primary, but Ken withdraws. All of a sudden, people jump in. Like within the next few days.
Because of the district and the demographics.
Because of the districts. Yeah. And because if you want to be a Republican in leadership in Colorado, there's literally nowhere else. It's here and CD5.
Yeah.
So a lot of people jump into CD4. And then Lauren comes over. And they didn't withdraw because when Lauren first came over, there were some personal issues there.
Oh, yeah. And
they thought that might tank her candidacy. In addition to the fact that she was moving districts and all that stuff. So
I've been surprised that has not resonated larger with the voters. I'm just surprised personally.
So for a few reasons. One, I think that there hasn't been many issues since, right? Was it like an ongoing or more's coming out during that? She apologized for it.
Yep.
Right. So she apologized. Hasn't been a lot more. And then you have, and this is what I've heard from people in my life, the conviction of Donald Trump solidified. We need somebody that's a real fighter. I mean, and Billy, we've hosted everybody here. Peter, you will be the first time we've talked to him.
That's true.
But we've hosted Jerry. Mike Lynch said, if you're looking for a fighter, I'm not the guy.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yep.
Like the bomb thrower. We asked him about that. And Deborah kind of hinted at that too. I'm not a bomb thrower, all that. And so some of the more deep red, passionate conservatives in my life said the conviction of Donald Trump communicated to me, I want the best fighter I can there, because we got to go all in this election. And so Lauren emerged in that. Right.
Yeah.
So,
which is weird that
part of the political winds blew her direction.
Yeah. Which is weird that Holtorf didn't gain any traction there.
Because he came out and in some cases was like for Trump, and in some cases was against Trump.
Yeah. But again, if we would say out of the grouping, who were the top fighters, Boebert and Holtorf rise to the top immediately. As far as fighters, if you're looking for that personality.
But he just wasn't there. And somebody in my life goes, during that Channel 9 debate, when Kyle Clark asked who's going to vote for a convicted felon, and Lauren Boebert's hand shot up like as fast, was the first one up, and everybody else was like this, including Holtorf.
Yeah.
They went, that's my person. I'm voting for her. We're going in. We got to fight. So, the political winds helped her.
Which, again, on a side note, if we can just review that statement in any other timeline, would be shocking. That who is going to vote for the convicted felon that is the nominee of a major political party, and how quickly you support them is viewed as a positive. That's, I mean, what timeline are we living in?
It's a wild one.
If we would have been sitting down with 14-year-old Jeff and said, yes, this is what we're going to be doing, you'd be going, stop drinking.
I know, because back then, and I have a picture of me just with my goofy smile with braces and all that stuff with George H.W. Bush.
Wow. Yeah, they never could have imagined that.
It's changed a lot.
Yes, it has.
So I want to dive into this issue because this is really important for all of us in Colorado, the city of Denver, what they're doing with the money. Because I'm getting a sense, reading, and we're going to go through a few of these articles here, that the amount of money that the city of Denver is spending on two areas in particular, the homeless and illegal immigrants, is going to at a certain point, like drive either the city into bankruptcy, or they're going to have to cut services to citizens in such a way that you're going to see real services provided by the city of Denver restricted and reduced. Listen to this, and to credit, look, I have my issues with Kyle Clark, but Channel 9, when they do real journalism, you got to honor it. This is honest journalism from Mark Salinger. Listen to this.
Yeah, the total is not listed anywhere, and that's what I'm asking about.
I see what you're saying. Gotcha.
The total costs of the mayor's homelessness initiatives have been a bit of a secret. No one knew, or at least no one would say until today.
It looks to me like we are spending between July 15th, 2023 and December 21st, 2024, $155 million on this.
It took some math from Councilmember Amanda Sawyer and a deep dive from us into the spreadsheets to put everything together. But we now know the city of Denver plans to spend around $155 million on Mayor Mike Johnston's homelessness initiatives between July of last year and the end of this year. That's a lot. In fact, it's about $65 million more than what Mayor Johnston told the public it would cost when he held two press conferences last year.
This total cost is about $48 million.
$48 million in 2023. The following year would be cheaper.
We've laid out a $39 million budget.
A total of $87.8 million budgeted over 2 years. Now we know the city plans to spend around $155 million in that time. So let's break down the costs. More than $100 million will be spent on expenses for hotels that have been bought or leased and converted into shelters. More than $35 million will go toward building and running micro-communities around the city. And another $14 million will be spent on miscellaneous expenses, like programs to put people in permanent housing.
We're getting to a point where we understand now what it costs, this program costs moving forward year over year.
Dr. Jamie Reif with the Department of Housing Stability says the expected yearly operating cost for the homeless programs has also grown. The city now expects to spend $57.5 million every year to try and solve homelessness.
If we serve 2,000 people, which is what we anticipate serving, that is about a per person cost of $28,750 per person.
$28,750 per person. That's essentially my mortgage payment each year.
Yeah, but again, it's not necessarily a living wage if we were going to just pay them money. It is a significant amount of money, but there were some other numbers inside there that worried me, and that was their original estimate and the total cost, the difference in the two of them. And I have a really, really serious question to the individuals in charge in the Denver government. Why is your math so freaking bad? And I want to yell right now. I want to scream into the microphone. How come your math is so freaking bad that you can't properly estimate the cost? You asshats. That's your freaking job. It's what you're supposed to do. You're running the city. You should be able to know what these things cost. Coming in at a 50% deficit or greater, you're morons. You are morons. If you were in the private industry and you showed up with an estimate that was 50% below what the program would cost, you're fired. Come on. I deal with people day in, day out in promotions in radio. We show up with a P&L that is 50% off. We're on our ass. How dare you show up and do this to the Denver taxpayers? How dare you? I am so mad. You came to us saying it was going to cost X, and it cost that much more. Get out. Get out right now. You suck at your job. You shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be allowed to pick up a pencil, a calculator, a spreadsheet, nothing. Get out on the street and go grab one of those squeegees like the rest of the homeless out there, the rest of the immigrants. That's all you're good for. If this is how bad your math is, get out. You want to know why things are broken? There we go.
Billy, isn't this just par for the course with government? Look at the spending they did out at DIA.
Yes.
Every time I hear a politician come at me with a number, I, in my head, immediately double it.
Yeah, which is stupid.
And twice the amount of time it takes to build whatever they want to build.
Yeah, I mean, look at the VA that happened here.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm tired of it. I'm fed up with it. And what I'm mad about... I was
going to ask you about that because I'm 42 and I feel like it's just the scam that our political leaders run. And maybe I was just getting older, and that's what happens when you get older. You just get angry at the government. But go ahead, Billy.
Yeah, I'm fed up with it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of you sucking at your job so badly. Get out and get somebody else that can actually do the actual estimates. And the problem is this is why it hurts even more. In the private industry, we can mess it up and the program can fail. But you're responsible for the city. You're responsible for all of our money. The people I work with, we're just responsible for company money. That's different. You're responsible for everybody's money, all of our taxpayer money. And that's the issue. Stop playing around with it and do math. If you can't, I am certain I can walk over to, and I'm going to use a Cherry Creek High School example. I can walk over to Smoky Hill High School and go to the International Baccalaureate program, and I'll pull 3 kids right now, today. Even though it's summer, I can get a hold of teachers. I will pull 3 kids today that can do a better job estimating than you can. Prove me wrong.
But Billy, to your point,
yeah,
and we got a text message here from our friend Corey. You assume they're telling the truth at first. They don't care what it costs. Combine this now with illegal immigration. Remember when he came out and said that was going to be $90 million?
Oh, I got a whole nother bitch about illegal immigration.
And then our friends at Common Sense Institute actually sit down and do the math and go, it's actually closer to 300.
Yeah.
So in both cases, you've had a doubling. And to your very poignant point, Billy.
Oh, I'm pissed.
In both cases, at a certain point, you just don't have the money.
Yes.
So that now my mind goes,
problem.
What are you going to do? Yeah. Because this isn't the federal government. And the most angry I saw Mikey Johnston was when he got denied grants from the federal government, because now he's got to figure it out. That one press conference he did where he came out, he was really frustrated because he had this whole plan on how he's going to serve illegal immigrants in the city of Denver, and then the money didn't come through.
Yeah, and I think he's looking for a Fed money on this as well, and it's ridiculous. And Corey's got a great point about the funny math and not being honest with a lot of the numbers. And if we want to know why our politicians get out there and continue to be able to say things like this, in part, it's because of the erosion of journalism. You accurately gave Channel 9 credit for doing this journalistic endeavor. But we've seen in some of those press conferences, people don't push hard enough on some of those numbers. And if the assumption is they're underestimating this by 50%, then we need to have somebody in there asking the better questions. I don't have time to do it, and probably not the right person because I would get a little angry. But this is a part of, we've seen the jobs in journalism and the actual journalists disappear when the newsrooms shrink.
Sure.
Whether or not you like the Denver Post, at least at one point, they had the ability to employ a large number of reporters. They can't and don't anymore. And that is a detriment to all of us. Regardless if we thought that they were liberal hacks or not, at least they had people that were on the ground that could do the work. And some of them were really, really good, really solid. And we've had some of them on the air that are absolutely fantastic that have found jobs somewhere else. But that's what you used to have. They used to be able to try to hold you accountable. Don't have that anymore. So it doesn't matter. We got to do stuff about, lifestyle stories and what's going on here. And,
So Mikey Johnston's got to do one of two things now.
What do you think?
He's going to have to cut services or raise taxes. Now, I know they're going to try to raise taxes this November. They got some ballot initiatives to do that. But he doesn't have the ability to print money like the federal government. The federal government's $34 trillion in debt. By the way, John Stossel, great reporting on this yesterday. We're at a point where our interest payment, Billy, is now greater. Interest payment is greater than the entire defense spending of this country.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, they're just driving that into the ditch, and we're all going to, that's going to, at a certain point, that's not sustainable.
No,
but
not at all.
The city of Denver cannot print money. They can try to get these federal grants, but they're going to have to do one of two things. They're either going to have to raise taxes, which is not going to be great in the city of Denver, or they're going to cut services. They are making the homeless and illegal immigrants their priorities. I want to lay this stat out to you as well. All right. So, Mikey Johnston spiking the football. We got 1,000 people off the street. And he's showing all these videos too of just the other day, he's got this video out there on his X account of all the people celebrating. There's no more homeless living outside our restaurant. Mikey Johnston did that. Okay. Over 1,000 people into shelters. Do you know how many people out of that 1,000 have graduated from a city hotel, shelter, or micro community to a leased unit so far, actually paying money themselves to live outside of being homeless? Out of 1,000, how many?
Okay. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to give you two numbers. One would be what I would expect a good functional program to be.
Yep.
Then I will give you what I expect a government program to be. And I am going to assume that what both numbers are going to be high. I'm just setting expectations here. My expectations are going to be low, and I'm pretty sure that the city of Denver is going to not exceed my expectations. Now, an actual good government functional program, we're talking about 1,000.
Yes.
I would want to see somewhere around 700 to 800. I would be looking at a 70 to 80% success rate. That's kind of what I'm looking at. If it was at a 60% success rate, I can stomach that and say, good, there's room to grow, but we're going in the right direction. A government program, I would expect, this is hard, because I would expect somewhere around a 30 to 35% success rate is where
so like 300 to
350
to 350.
Yeah, 350, 400, 300, 400, somewhere in there is what I would expect. If I'm going to estimate based on the math that we've seen that we just discussed and the underestimation of services, I would assume that if they are that bad at estimating the amount of money it's going to take in order to serve this population, they probably have severely underestimated what they have to do to serve the population as well. So I'm going to give you a number on the government, and this seems generous. How about 18 total? 18 people. Again, I'm being facetious.
That's better. You're closer.
Yeah, but I'm being facetious. But yeah,
the actual number out of 1,000 people that have been served by the government that have moved from a city hotel shelter or micro community to a leased unit, 45.
And I was really just playing with the 18 number.
I thought 4.5% success rate.
That is awful. That is okay. Imagine this. Okay, let's take that program and let's say that we have a school, a public school, a charter school, a private school. You have 4.5% graduation rate. You have a teacher that gets 4.5% of the kids in the classroom to the next grade level. They're a failure. That is ridiculous. You have an assembly line. 4.5% of your cars, your widgets, your pencil sharpeners are acceptable and can be used by the public. That's a failure. I can't think of a single time in which 4.5% is a success rate unless we were talking about an infectious disease. Then we're doing a great job keeping it down. Other than that, that's
STDs
it. Exactly. Unless we are doing a survey in the frat house, it's like, who's got the STD? If it's 4.5%, we're winning. Other than that, we are losing. This
All
sucks.
right. I want to hear from our callers on this. Give us a call. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971. The city of Denver spending double what they expected to have spent, $155 million in 18 months on homelessness, with a success rate of 45 people actually leaving homeless. Are we creating a dependency program at this point where we're just going to basically pay for people to live in city hotels? Is that where we're going with this? And when we come back, I want to get into this. Guys, it layers on top of this. They now have what's called a Denver Basic Income Project. So not only are they providing $155 million for homeless, they have spent to date $9.4 million just handing out cash to homeless people. Just handing out cash. All they've asked for these people to do is respond back and take a survey. You'll be shocked at how many people are actually doing that. In addition to this, it just compounds. And I haven't even gotten to illegal immigration and how many people are on the workforce plan that the city has put together. This is a disaster of epic proportions led by Mayor Mike Johnston. We'll get into this and more. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. I want to talk to you about UltraCur. There's lots of curcumin products out there, even some that advertise on other radio stations that make you pay to try, but not UltraCur. UltraCur believes so much in their product, they're willing to give it away for free and give you a free 3-day trial. UltraCur is a patented non-prescription natural capsule that works fast. You can experience UltraCur for free. Go to any Denver Metro Natural Grocers and ask for the health coach or the vitamin manager for your free 3-day trial of UltraCur. If you've tried everything without much success, even other natural curcumin products, you owe it to yourself to try UltraCur today. It's a kinder, gentler way to experience wellness and overcome pain. Great daily supplement. Get curious, Denver. Head to the Natural Grocers and grab your free 3-day UltraCurt trial with no strings attached. If you're wondering about the research, get the lowdown at getultranow.com. That's getultranow.com. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has underscored the US's ironclad support for the Philippines under its Mutual Defense Treaty. Kate Fisher has the story.
The State Department said that China's dangerous and deliberate actions were reckless and threatened regional peace and security. China claims sovereignty over much of the South China Sea, but that's disputed by many neighbouring nations, including the Philippines. Pressure is growing on the US to respond to China's aggression, and the Biden administration has reiterated that it will defend the Philippines under its Mutual Defense Treaty, but those threats are yet to deter China.
A weather system in the Gulf of Mexico has strengthened into Tropical Storm Alberto, the first named storm of the hurricane season. The system is expected to make landfall Thursday morning in Mexico, but forecasters say the wild weather will also lash southern Texas. Texas Governor Greg Abbott preemptively declared a severe weather disaster for 51 counties late Wednesday, warning Texans along the coast about the dangers of flash flooding and storm surge. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
Welcome to the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's go to the phone line. Steve in Denver. What's on your mind, Steve?
I'll make it quick. Come Monday, the 24th, they're going to be voting for a tax for the hospitals. Every time you go to the store and buy something, it's going to be like 1 or 2% for the illegals to pay for the hospitals all around Denver and stuff. The hospitals are getting wiped out.
They are. Denver Health is running into bankruptcy. They cannot afford all the services. And look, these are called, what is the name? Safety net hospitals, I think is the name. And every major city has one, which is basically like, we're going to serve you no matter what. We'll figure out the costs. We'll get money from the federal government, but we'll serve you no matter what. And they've just run out of money with illegal immigration and homelessness, and the city spending, I mean, what was it? $155 million on homelessness, spending nearly $300 million on illegal immigrants. They're choosing who they're spending money with, and it's not the hospitals.
So every time you go to the store and buy something, you're going to have a 1 or 2% tax on that receipt.
Yeah, you're going to end up with a lot of these coming, I think, in November. Steve, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Want to get into, especially in the 7 o'clock hour, this new effort to provide just straight up cash to homeless people.
That's interesting. That's going to be interesting. I'm curious about how that's worked out.
And has it benefited? Well, they're about a year in and they have some results. So we'll cover that as well. Plus, you choose the news. You're not going to want to miss it. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, Billy, it's that time. Let's do You Choose the News, buddy.
All righty, sir. Yes, this is that time of the morning where we make questionable decisions and put our careers on the line playing this fake radio news game show that we call You Choose the News. We are one day away from a loser edition. That's coming up tomorrow. But today we have brand new stories of really dumb stuff that us humans have participated in the last 24 to 48 hours, maybe a little bit longer. And then we've given them even more ridiculous headlines with this fake radio news game. Why? Because the people in charge are still asleep. Their alarms do not go off until 7 o'clock in the morning, as we have found out. So we've got about 8 minutes here to do this silliness and this frivolity. And a reminder, this is probably not sponsored by Rollout Shelves. They are a wonderful mother-son team that will come to your home and give you a free in-home estimate to solve your clutter problems in the bathroom, the kitchen, the garage, wherever. Check them out at rollemoutshelves.com. But they don't want to be associated in any way, shape, or form with something as stupid as this. Alrighty, here we go. Jeff Hunt, Blake Olson from the newsroom. Here are your headlines this morning, sir. Headline number 1, shoot for the stars. Headline number 2, workers are getting greedy. Headline number 3, candidate fails history. And headline number 4, was Alex Jones right? All righty, Mr. Hunt, your choice, sir.
I always like to hear candidates failing history.
Yes, candidate failing history. We have a candidate for a Missouri Secretary of State recently that on Juneteenth, Valentina Gomez said, well, if you don't like it, get the F out. Which is weird, telling the people that used to be slaves that they should leave. Because I'm pretty sure they tried that and we're told, no, you can't.
You need to stay.
Exactly.
You have some work to do. I saw that video and I'm just like, what?
I don't know what's wrong with her. I don't understand.
It's bizarre. And one, I think Republicans should claim Juneteenth. Sorry. I mean, that's like basically that's how our party was formed.
Yes. And
was to fight for slavery. Now you have a holiday that celebrates the end of it.
Yeah. And Republicans
Thank you, America.
And Republicans
delivered that.
Republicans get mad about it.
They're
the ones
weird.
it is incredibly stupid, and it is awful branding. You are right. It is horrible branding, bad marketing. The other part that I'm saying they fail history is Valentina. I'm just going to bring you aside for a second. One of the things that makes America most special, Valentina, is that we get to change it. We get to vote for elected officials. We get to vote on laws. We can micromanage things down to a city council level. Try that in Russia, and then tell me about who wants to leave where. Again, the beauty here is we can change it. That's the issue. Stop telling me to leave if you don't like it. Stop it. But again, oh well. All righty, Blake Olson in the newsroom. Here's your choice, sir. Shoot for the stars. Workers getting greedy, or was Alex Jones right?
Let's go with Alex Jones.
Yes.
Was he right? Correct.
Was Alex Jones right? That's a question I've got after they have just launched Freedom 2.0. Oh, you have to say it that way. Actually, it's not associated with Alex Jones. It's Alex Clark. Alex Clark is launching this because you need to put away all your woke bottled water. Yes, you weaklings. Basically, the Freedom 2.0 is telling you that you are having free speech water. Your speech is free. Your water isn't free, but this is free speech water. It's an act of rebellion, they say, by drinking this 12-pack of 16-ounce bottles that'll cost you $21. That's great. They say that even the most ordinary acts, like taking a sip of water, can be confused with meaning and purpose. And so you must drink Freedom 2.0 to show everybody you are fighting back against the wokeness. Because again, Alex Jones said the water was making the frogs gay. So maybe your bottled water was making you gay. Here's the very fun part, though. The water also advertises, just in case you want the woke, non-woke water. It also advertises the water has been tuned to a frequency of 300 or 432 hertz. That's important because some new age spiritualists believe that sound tune frequency can promote your spiritual growth. So again,
it's all a scam.
Yes, get the specially tuned water and not be woke. Alrighty,
I drink the best water in Colorado, man, straight out of a well, 350 feet deep.
There you go.
Final choice this morning as we're running out of time. Shoot for the stars or workers getting greedy?
Workers getting greedy.
Workers getting greedy. They're having a problem getting people back to the office. So what is the solution that the offices and the managers are giving? Maybe we should give everybody their own desk. Yes, people are having to share spaces right now because they cut back an office space, and now they're trying to get them back into the office by saying, I'll give you a desk. That's going to work, you asshats. Alrighty, back to you, sir.
When we come back, Denver's giving out free cash. We'll tell you how to get yours. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Where's my cash? News Talk 710, KNUS.
7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, June 20th. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center, crazy. And if you're a member of the City Council of Denver, the mayor spending a ton of money on homelessness and illegal immigration. Shocking amounts. We'll get into that and more. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions and critical analysis. But most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. We've got one open line. We're going to get to a lot of these calls here in just a second, but give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. By the way, you can watch us and see our pretty faces live on YouTube, X, and Rumble. All you have to do is go to any of those and type in 710 KNUS. You can come and turn the radio experience into a video streaming experience, all by just going to YouTube, X, or Rumble, typing in 710 KNUS. Coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, Peter Yu is a candidate for Congressional District 4, joining us in the final stretches of this race. So be decided Tuesday. Who are you voting for? Let us know. Text us in on the 710 KNUS app if you're in Congressional District 4 or 8 or 5 or 3, anywhere where there's a competitive primary. Or if you're just supporting Val Archuleta in Congressional District 1, you can let us know that too. And then 9 o'clock, the Congresswoman herself, Lauren Boebert, will be joining us in studio, so you can see her on YouTube, X, or Rumble. Just go to 710knus.com, get all those details there. So wild morning coming up. We're going to dive into this universal basic income plan. What if you gave hundreds of people experiencing homelessness cash with no strings attached? Well, Denver's been doing that for a year, and we'll get to some of those details on how it's playing out. But let's check in first on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. 59 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting highs in the low 90s today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story: and investigation is ongoing after two boys were shot at an Aurora apartment complex on Wednesday at the Meadowlark Apartments. The victims, 12 and 14 years old, were found wounded and taken to a hospital to be treated for non-life-threatening injuries. At least 4 teenagers detained after the shooting, but no charges have been filed. One person believed to be involved in the shooting may still be at large. Aurora police asking for the public's help in the search for a missing woman. 19-year-old Leslie Vincente, went missing a week ago, and she was driving home from Aurora to Greeley. She was last seen on the night of June 13th, driving southbound on US 85 between Platteville and Fort Lupton. She's described as a Hispanic woman, 5'2", weighs 120 pounds, and has black hair and brown eyes. Investigators say they're concerned for her safety, and anyone with information should contact the Aurora Police Department. People living in Denver's West Barnum neighborhood dealing with a series of incidents involving fireworks. Neighbors say that somebody is driving around and setting off fireworks dangerously close to houses, some of which have reportedly been fired at front doors. At least one of the incidents was caught on home surveillance video. The U.S. Supreme Court could issue some major opinions today. Among the cases being considered is Donald Trump's claim that he is immune from prosecution for alleged crimes committed while president. Other cases under consideration are the obstruction charges against the January 6th Capitol rioters and abortion access in medical emergencies. The White House has canceled a high-level meeting that was scheduled for today with Israeli officials. Axios reports that the move was in response to a video posted by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in which he claimed the U.S. was withholding military aid. President Biden's top advisors were reportedly angered by or enraged by the video. Well, you heard Jeff and Billy talk about how bad the city of Denver is with the budget, spending, and waste. Same problem in Chicago. What a shocker. Mayor Brandon Johnson loves his hair and makeup.
Let me ask you another question. There will be the awkward elephant in the room, and that is about the Sun-Times story last week about your spending of $30,000 from your campaign fund for hair and makeup. Can you respond to that and explain why you think that's an appropriate use of the campaign dollars to many people seems like a lot of money?
I think it's always appropriate to make sure that we're investing in small businesses, especially minority-owned, Black-owned, women-owned businesses.
How many haircuts is he getting?
Our campaign spends money on food. We support Black and brown-owned businesses.
30 grand on hair and makeup.
How many haircuts?
Right?
The
I'm
hell?
telling you, man. That
What the
fade
hell?
had to have been, I mean, they had to have been cutting
Exactly.
that thing like every day.
Yeah.
Keeping it clean.
Damn.
Man, I used to be in TV, and I think I spent $19 a year on some crappy makeup at Walgreens to get that done. You know, and I'm thinking Chicago and Denver, and it made me think of the great Madam C.J. Walker. I mean, she made $1 million in hair and makeup, and that was over 100 years ago, and she didn't need help from the government. And now the government is spending on these small, Black-owned businesses, as he said, small businesses that need help.
I love that.
30 grand?
Mr. Mayor, you have spent $30,000 on visits to strip clubs. Care to comment on that? I'm supporting small businesses and
That's
independent expenditures
and struggling single moms.
That's right.
Yes.
Exactly.
And people trying to get
Bingo.
themselves through college. That's exactly. Although, okay, the three of us. Okay, shout out to whoever on the mayor's staff came up with the small business answer. That is deviously clever. That is ridiculous, but still, man.
Mr. Mayor, you've spent $30,000 on drugs.
Yes,
right.
Care to comment? Just helping small businesses.
Yes.
It's the guy on the corner.
I'm also working to make sure that we import what we need to here in the city. We could do this all day. Oh my God.
No doubt. No doubt.
The Rockies would love to do the same here. High fly ball, deep enough, it should be. Cave tag and catch made by Pies. They'll never get it. Rockies win it. Brent Doyle.
All right, Brent Doyle hit a walk-off sac fly in the bottom of the ninth as the Rockies beat the Dodgers 7-6 at Coors.
I was just trying to get a ball up in the zone, allowed me to drive the ball somewhere in the air and deep enough to where I can score Jake. And he got me a slider up in the zone, put a decent swing on it, and hit it deep enough to get him in.
All right, it's getaway day today for the Dodgers at Coors at 1:10. Nationals at the Rockies tomorrow. Looks like, are you going to the game today?
I am taking the family down. We're going to go spend the day at the ballpark. With this job, you got to go to those 1 o'clock games.
That's right.
No
man.
evening, no late night evening games.
So true.
But that's a bonus.
That is a bonus.
Yeah,
That's
crowds
right.
are different, traffic's different. It's fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, that is a bonus.
My wife's parents are from the Dominican Republic, and her aunts and uncles and family, whatever. About 5 or 6 years ago, they wanted to go to a getaway day game at Coors, and I was like, man, let's make sure we don't sit on the east side, right? Oh,
that's right.
You
make that mistake once.
We don't care. We gotta go. We'll sit on the east side. Oh my goodness, it was horrible. Hot, of course. Yep, you gotta have a hat, gotta have an umbrella, a tent. Maybe you could borrow someone's tent on the street near Coors.
There are a lot of them.
Take it in there. Hey, by the way, can you pitch tents at Coors Field? I never, I haven't.
I know you can't outside, and that's only because I've driven by and seen, the walkway around the outside. It is just wide enough, and because it creates some decent shade, you can have an entire homeless buffet there. Yes,
nice.
I know. It's amazing.
I love it, and no lines at the restrooms either.
No, which is really weird, isn't that?
Yeah.
Watch the homeless people downstairs, and no one's standing in line for the restroom. That's strange.
I love it. All right, 56 in Littleton, 54 in Boulder, 59 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast, partly cloudy to cloudy, warmer, upper 80s and lower 90s with afternoon and evening thunderstorms and showers likely, a few of which could get strong. Watch out for a few strong thunderstorms with heavy rain and hail this afternoon and evening. Lows tonight, low 60s. We do it all over again, upper 80s Friday, and Friday also will bring a good chance of showers and storms. Warm for the weekend, but less in the way of thunderstorms. Still have some isolated ones, but not as many. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. What are we talking about today? Well, Channel 9 did, to their credit, some good investigations, found out what the true cost of homelessness is. Listen to this.
Yeah, the total is not listed anywhere, and that's what I'm asking about.
I see what you're saying. Gotcha.
The total costs of the mayor's homelessness initiatives have been a bit of a secret. No one knew, or at least no one would say, until today.
It looks to me like we are spending between July 15th, 2023 and December 21st, 2024, $155 million on this.
It took some math from Councilmember Amanda Sawyer and a deep dive from us into the spreadsheets to put everything together. But we now know the city of Denver plans to spend around $155 million on Mayor Mike Johnston's homelessness initiatives between July of last year and the end of this year. That's a lot. In fact, it's about $65 million more than what Mayor Johnston told the public it would cost when he held two press conferences last year.
This total cost is about $48 million.
$48 million in 2023. The following year would be cheaper.
We've laid out a $39 million budget.
A total of $87.8 million budgeted over 2 years. Now we know the city plans to spend around $155 million in that time. So let's break down the costs. More than $100 million will be spent on expenses for hotels that have been bought or leased and converted into shelters. More than $35 million will go toward building and running micro-communities around the city. And another $14 million will be spent on miscellaneous expenses, like programs to put people in permanent housing.
We're getting to a point where we understand now what it costs, this program costs moving forward year over year.
Dr. Jamie Reif with the Department of Housing Stability says the expected yearly operating cost for the homeless programs has also grown. The city now expects to spend $57.5 million every year to try and solve homelessness.
If we serve 2,000 people, which is what we anticipate serving, that is about a per person cost of $28,750 per person.
Gosh, $28,000 per person. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Dwayne and Divide. Good morning, Dwayne.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are things in the beautiful city of Denver?
I have not got my $28,000 check.
Me either. Well, mad.
Nor have I. Now, as far as a couple of things, pitching a 10 at Coors Field, I did so. One of the girls at the concession stand, but I don't want to talk about that right now.
Oh, man, Dwayne.
Okay. But we look at these things. That 155 is a lie. It's got to be at least triple that.
Yeah.
We spend as much money in Denver on homeless that we do in Chicago with about the same results. And Jeff, Bill, I think all of us could just take a box of money, walk out and go, hi, let's get you into an apartment, pay the rent, sit there and have somebody supervise them and still do it cheaper than $28,000.
Yep. I mean, it's essentially a mortgage payment. That's what they're spending. But here's the deal. And you know this, Dwayne. It's not about paying for the person to have a house. It's about paying the entire system around homelessness. There's a great movie years ago called poverty.org or something like that, poverty.inc. And it's basically just how you have these entire industries built around getting taxpayer dollars. They employ people. They're never incentivized to actually get people out of homelessness. Like we were talking about last hour, the fact that out of 1,000 people, they have gotten 45 people out of homelessness. That's essentially a 4.5% success rate. They're not interested in actually getting people into homes. This creates a system where people spend their entire lives living off the government, and then the money is actually going to pay poverty.inc. That was the web movie. They just go to pay the system of poverty, solvers, poverty servers. and they don't actually ever get people out of poverty.
I'm shocked. People who would sit there and just make a job so somebody could sit there and live off a government job as opposed to getting other things.
Yep.
I'm shocked. This is absolutely terrible. I mean, let's face the facts of what it is.
Yep.
We need to sit there and start taking immigration elsewhere. And I'm going to do my part. I got to go to Kazakhstan in about 3 weeks to sit there and check out something. So I'll be leaving the country for at least 2 weeks while I search for something so elusive, so incredible that'll be an option that nobody has ever heard. I will make international news.
Is it a
on
car?
this.
I know you're into cars. Are you looking at a car?
It is a car. It is a car. It is a
Nice.
Ferrari. And
Wow.
I've seen the serial number, and Ferrari does restore the vehicle because it has the serial number. And if this whole thing is what it is, and there's not much there, I will be crowned king of the Italian car people. They will talk about my name in the future going, yeah, he found the damn thing just by happenstance.
Nice.
So there it is. So yes, but I'll be leaving the country and going to Kazakhstan. If you don't hear from me in the future, realize that I'm in some prison somewhere going, this was not the idea I thought possible.
I thought I was
I'd like to
Uber.
get the
This is not
NGO
good.
here.
Yeah.
I'd like to get the NGO here in Kazakhstan to get a place.
Yes,
You know, a
exactly.
couple thousand rupees to get me where I need to be. But no, this is insanity to sit there and say 4.5%. Literally, we could all triple our salaries. Well, you guys, I don't make a salary, but we could triple all your salaries. And even let's bring in the news guy. He's kind of cool. We'll triple his as well. We'll take Blake with us, and we could sit there and solve this problem inside of 6 months. The problem is, as you said, Jeff, there's always somebody trying to make sure somebody else is on some sort of deal, so we can all stand back and go, I created X amount of jobs to sit there and help with homelessness. Come on. We all know it's a lie. Denver spends as much as Chicago in homelessness. And if you look at the Denver website, it tells you all about, if you come to Denver, how to get all your little things necessary, what programs are necessary. And if you're staying, read column B. And if you're not staying and you're going through, read column A.
No,
and it's on the official website.
And Dwayne, you're dealing with people at this point, and I took a whole class on this in grad school about homelessness and how it has changed. So 40s, 50s, it was called a hot and a cot. You know, the expectation was you were going to work. And so, but some people were down on their luck. And so we'd provide a hot shower, a hot meal, and a cot for you to sleep in. But you were out in the morning, you were looking for a job, and it was temporary. That was what was provided for you. What you deal with, and Mike Hoffman talks about this, is primarily people that are dealing with mental health issues and drug addiction, and they're often tied together. So what are we doing at a point now in the city of Denver? We are spending $155 million to provide housing for people that are drug addicted and dealing with mental health issues. And on top of that, in many cases, spending $9.5 million on what's called a basic income, which is we are just handing them cash with no strings attached. We are subsidizing this lifestyle as taxpayers, and it's horrible. We're paying for these people to live in tents, to live in city-run hotels, addicted to drugs, and we're not providing the right services or accountability for them to actually improve their lives.
Stop. You're making it sound exciting. Okay. We need to sit here and reevaluate how we sell this. We need to sit there and say what it is. You're going to be living next to a person who may have just one machete, and he may attack your children like the guy did in New York. Yep. He may go after the young lady in Georgia. We have an epidemic that is going to continue to bubble. News is not reporting all the people that are harmed, hurt, killed. And I feel sad for each and every person. I lived in Central America for 3 years in my 20s, and I sat there and saw devastation that won't quit. Salvador is turning around, but the rest of the Central American area is becoming horrible. Panama is an absolute nightmare. And we have to sit there and say, these are not the best and the brightest. If they're so fabulous and they're the best and the brightest, why are they not staying in our home country to sit there and make it better?
That's right.
We have problems that are burbling. We have not begun to see the layers of what's happened over the last 3.5 years. And by sitting there giving somebody $1,000, please, $1,000. I mean, I know Bill, he could spend $1,000 on things, make his family life a little better, but it's not going to change his lifestyle. Jeff, the same thing.
Yep.
$1,000 is nothing. And who's going to get an apartment for $1,000 in Denver? Please. They've already got it. It's called a tent, and they're living on Colfax. That's $1,000, and plus, you got to pay HOA fees. Come on.
Dwayne, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Dwayne's line will be open 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971, or to text message us on the 710 KNUS app. Basic Income Project is primarily privately financed. I don't know if it's primarily. I know there is private funding in there, but there's also some public funding in there as well. So I think it's kind of a mix. But we'll get to that in just a second. Those details. That's kind of fascinating. Frank, I'll get to you in a minute. But I want to talk to you all about someone who's really contributing greatly to our community, a small business. Roll them out shelves. Joyce and Brent Tolliver. I've gotten to know this mom and son dynamic duo, and they are really wonderful people. So they install these shelves that you can pull out in your kitchen or in your bathroom or in your laundry room, and it makes getting to all of your essentials so much easier. We had them installed at our house, and I want to tell you, first of all, Joyce and Brent are just wonderful people. It's like having your mom and brother over. We talked faith, family, love of this country. They share our values. They're a small business here in Colorado. Great, great people. Secondly, they got to work and installed these wonderful cabinets. And every single day, I marvel how great my life has gotten. We used to have these deep pantries that we just lost stuff back there, forgot it was there. Or if you wanted to get it, you had to pull out half of the stuff in your pantry. It was horrible. Now, we're able to access everything so much easier. It's one of the best decisions we've made for our kitchen and our laundry room. Begin the affordable transformation in your home for less than $1,000 when Roll 'em Out Shelves efficiently organizes your space with sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Give them a call for your free in-home estimate today, 303-475-9601. That's 303-475-9601 or rollemoutshelves.com. Be sure to tell them Jeff sent you. Rollemoutshelves.com. By the way, if you're following us on YouTube, X, or Rumble on 710 KNUS, you can see what the Roll 'em Out Shelves looks like right there. Great videos. Going over to Billy's house to install those for your mom's house.
Yeah.
Soon.
They just did them last week. I was over there in the weekend, and they're fantastic.
They are great.
They are absolutely wonderful. And here's the thing that made it so cool. I'm going to extend that advertisement a little bit here, just on a personal thing. This is the thing that was awesome: is they custom built the shelves that roll out underneath my mom's bathroom sinks. She has two of them and needed some solutions because she's older. She needed something that could be very easy to get to, and that then she's not down on her hands and knees searching through the back of, the mysterious stuff that gets lost underneath the bathroom sink. And she's got some other stuff she's going to have them do as well. The cool part is these shelves give her access to all of the space that is inside of that bathroom sink area, and they custom fit them so they fit around the drain. There is no wasted space. The two top shelves in the bathroom pull out, and there are slight cutouts so that they fit in underneath the bottom of the sink and where the pipes come down. So there's no wasted space. The entire shelf, the entire area that she has underneath the sink can be used. Not only is she able to use the storage space, she's then able to grab the shelf and easily pull it out to see everything inside. So she gets all the storage with none of the hassle of having to search for it. It is a phenomenal solution, and it has made her life so much better. I couldn't be happier about Roll 'em Out Shelves. Check them out. You really should call them. They're a fantastic team. Sorry, back to you, sir.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Frank in Evergreen. Frank, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Frank.
Hey, good morning. Great show again this morning. To quote a great American president, you didn't build that. So here's the thing. I just got back on a whirlwind trip from Denver to Alaska to South Carolina and back. And I did not see a single homeless camp, did not see any tents on the highways, on the divides. And the reason is because people in those communities don't even entertain the conversation from people like Billy, like the progressive liberals like Billy, who, say, all we got to do is improve the efficiency of our spending and we can solve this problem. No, you can't. We need to deport these people and be done with it. We need massive deportation like Trump's going to do and get over it. And then, like you mentioned earlier, Jeff, about, hot in the cot, need to work, You don't work, you don't eat. That's the way it was when I was a kid, and that's the way it needs to be get back to.
Okay, political, personal attacks aside, Frank, how are you going to deport all the people?
Well, that comes with a set of problems, just like everything we do in life, and those problems, I'm sure, will be the progressive liberals. And I don't know why you take it as an attack, me referring to you as a progressive liberal, because I think that's what you are.
Frank, hang on a sec, sir. We have gone over this about every third time you call.
I didn't call you a Democrat.
Hang on a
I
sec.
didn't call you a Democrat.
About every third time we call. And you use it as a pejorative. And that's okay. I'm just letting you know, man. That's okay. No, Frank, no. You don't get to tell me what I am. I express that every day on the air, and I'm very open about it. And there's certain things in which I'm liberal on, there's certain things I'm conservative on. And the listener knows that. But I understand why you want to give me the jacket and make me wear it. It's better for you. That's okay. Don't care. Let's move along from that. You talked about the fact that the people that may side with me would say, oh, we just have to change the immigration system or change this or change that. Now you say the easiest solution is this massive deportation project. Okay. Explain to me why the people that want to change the immigration process, why that is unworkable, but your massive deportation project is obviously workable. Explain that one to me, please.
Here's one solution, since I obviously won't be in charge of this because, I'm nobody. But if I were in charge, this is what I would do. I would first, all those yellow school buses you got that take kids to school in the morning, I would drop the kids off at school. Then I would take those yellow school buses and stop at Home Depot and all the various places that the illegals congregate, pick them up and drive them back to the border and drop them off.
So hang on. So Frank, you're going to take a Denver school bus and you're going to drive the illegal immigrants down to Mexico. Tell me how you're going to get the kids home at night.
We'll drive back and get them home at night.
Okay, how far away is the Mexico border?
You asked me a ridiculous question, so I gave you a ridiculous answer.
No. I'm sorry, a ridiculous question. My ridiculous question was to ask you about how you're going to deport everybody. You said that was the solution. So your solution is ridiculous. Frank, that's not my fault that you're ridiculous. That your solution is ridiculous. That's not my fault. That's on you.
And it's a ridiculous question.
No.
Here's the thing: is look around you, Billy.
Okay. No. Frank, hang on a sec. Stop. Frank, stop. I asked you how you were going to affect the change you wanted, and that's a ridiculous question.
Okay, this is the way I'm going to affect it. I'm going to elect Donald Trump, and then he'll do it. Here's the thing.
Okay, so because he solved everything else. Wait. Hang on. Wait, Frank. He had an immigration plan last time. Did he stop the illegal immigration? Did he deport everybody? He promised mass deportations. Did he do it?
He didn't promise mass deportation.
Yes, he did, sir. Yes, he did.
Statement.
No, he did. He promised deporting. He's promised deporting people. He promised to get the illegals out, and he promised to build a wall. Did he do that?
He built quite a bit of the wall.
No, he didn't, sir. No, Frank, you know that's wrong. Frank, that's wrong. Frank, that is wrong. Frank, that is wrong. He did not build a significant portion of the wall. He didn't build a large portion of the wall. He barely built any of the wall. If you look at the entirety
he got
of the
sued
border,
the minute that he tried to do it by the Democrats.
Well, no, not by the Democrats. No, hang on.
Yeah, it was.
Hang on, wait. By Democrats and also by Republicans.
Can we mute Billy's mic, Jeff, so I can talk?
All right.
No, Frank, we can get yours.
Frank,
okay?
Go ahead. No, let's give Frank a word here.
Frank's gone. I'm sorry. Done, Frank.
No, we can't hang up on Frank. We got to give him a word.
No. Frank doesn't want to answer the question. I asked him a direct question about it, and he tried to avoid it.
No, his answer was Donald Trump.
Yeah, and then
I'm going to elect Donald Trump.
Yep, and I asked him about the efficacy of Donald Trump last time.
Right.
And none of you
got a better mandate this time.
But again, he didn't do it, and this is the issue.
That's not. But you can't just say it was just him.
Well, hang on a sec.
He was stopped.
Okay, by whom?
By a lot of these lawsuits.
Okay, do you think
the minute he announced this stuff, he got sued?
Now, if he announces a new program with deportation, what's going to happen? What are the Democrats going to do?
They'll sue.
Yeah, and so
he'll have to work through it.
Okay, so how effective is this
going
to be?
That's why we give him 3 more terms.
But that's the issue is he wasn't able to do it last time, and the idea that he's going to come back in after making that promise and do it again, please.
Well, I think the Democrats are going to have a harder time fighting back on this. I really, because you see it in the polling that even among Democrats, there's support for deportation.
Again, but we've talked about what happens with that deportation. And if you're not grabbing the criminals, because like the idea that Frank said right there, which is again, one of the dumb things that he said was that we're going to show up with a school bus at a Home Depot, put them all on a bus, then drive them back. And so what you're doing there is you are not attacking the criminals per se. Those people aren't out there mother raping and father stabbing. They're standing there looking for work. While illegal, they're not the people that we're most worried about. Those people that are standing in the thing, those people that are standing in the parking lot at Home Depot aren't the ones that we're seeing in New York City that are beating people up.
Right.
Not the same people.
But
so
I think
grabbing them doesn't work.
I think, and we had a great text message yesterday about all this. Preventing people from getting credit cards, opening bank accounts, all that stuff that you could do to make it harder to live here illegally. I think that Republicans can do, and they should do. And I think it'll help with this. And you don't have to put people in school buses and drive them to a border.
I can see the point in that, and I can get there with you. I can be persuaded that would be a good plan. The only problem being that when the immigrants are here, if we're not allowing them to get identification or get regular jobs or open up bank accounts, that means you have put them into the criminal element. The only way they are going to be able to feed their family or do anything will be involved in crime.
But I think you got
it.
Look, any other country you go to, you and I talk about this every day. But any other country you go to, you're not going to find it that easy to just blend into society illegally. I can't do that in France or Spain or Germany. And yet we allow that to happen. And I think it creates the system where it incentivizes people to come. But give us a call, 303-696-1971. Frank, thank you for the call. Frank's line is open.
Yes, it is.
303
again
696-1971.
This is a lesson.
Text us on the 710 KNUS app.
This is just a tiny lesson. Answer the questions. That's it. There are very few requirements we have here. We don't care about your political leanings. We have very few constraints on what you're going to talk about, especially if you're on topic. I don't care. Answer the questions. Have a conversation. That's the rule.
Jeff and Bill's show rated the top talk radio show by Westward. Our friends at Advanced Hair Restoration were rated the top hair restoration company by Westward. Awesome. Great company to be in with. Summer is a time to feel and look your best, but I'm not talking about your abs or your tan, guys. I'm talking about your hair. Restore that bald spot, reverse your receding hairline, and add volume to thinning during Advanced Hair's once yearly summer savings event. Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day, and they guarantee your new hair will grow. There's absolutely no one I trust more than Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. Take advantage of your flexible summer calendar and get the most for hair for your dollar. Advanced Hair's summer sales event is on for a limited time, so get the details and schedule your free consultation today. 720-459-HAIR. One-day treatment, life-changing results with Advanced Hair. Your new hair is guaranteed to grow. Check out their incredible before and afters and take advantage of their best offer ever. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. advancedhair.com. We'll continue with your calls and texts, and they're coming in. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. Officials are urging millions of Americans to take precautions amid dangerously high temperatures. In New York, Haley Bianco has more.
Cities across the United States have opened cooling centers this week to help residents beat the heat. According to the National Weather Service, the dangerous temperatures are expected to peak in the eastern Great Lakes and New England on Wednesday and Thursday, and in the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic on Friday and Saturday. Heat index readings are expected to reach 100 to 105 degrees in many locations. Officials have urged people to limit outdoor activities when possible and to check in with family members and neighbors who may be vulnerable to the heat. Here in New York, Governor Kathy Hochul activated the National Guard to assist in any heat emergencies over the next several days. She also said admission and parking fees at state parks, pools, and beaches would be waived on Wednesday and Thursday.
Louisiana has become the first U.S. state to require the 10 Commandments to be displayed in every public school classroom. Republican Governor Jeff Landry signed the measure into law Wednesday. The new rules will require classrooms to show the commandments in a poster-sized display with large, easily readable font. Several civil rights groups say they plan to challenge the new laws in court. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's go to the phone lines. Jim, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. Good morning.
Hey guys, good morning. Listen, there's no Republican free marketeer that's going to deport the illegal cheap workers in this country, as well as there's no Republican that's going to end the universal basic income for Wall Street because it's anti-business. Have you guys seen where the illegal aliens pile up in this nation? Do you know where they pile up?
No, I'd love to know that.
Yeah, where?
They pile up primarily in Texas and in California and all the other regions where the rural agriculture department needs someone that will work for next to nothing to provide us with food that at our grocery stores in a method is subsidized by cheap foreign labor that will urinate and defecate in the fields because the farmers are trying to fight against even giving them porta-johns.
You know, I agree with you there, Jim. They're in
right
construction as well. I think construction would be another one where we would find them, and you find them. Yeah, Florida's another state that has a large influx. But you're right. We have changed the migrant population and some of the migrant visas that they used to use to come into the country and pick the crops and then go home. We've changed some of that process. So instead of allowing them to go home, they now are incentivized to just stay here. And some of them will try to move, as you know, with the crops based on seasons. They'll go from picking cherries to strawberries to oranges, depending on what the season is. But yeah, you're right. That is subsidizing the agriculture industry.
I think things are changing though. And so this was an article that we were going to discuss, that the Work Ready program for immigrants. Okay. So we've had 42,000 illegal immigrants come through the city of Denver, and they created this newcomer program. Mayor Mike Johnston did. And part of that, in addition to an apartment for 6 months, a debit card with cash on it for food and personal items, they also had this, and a lawyer, they also had this Work Ready program that was going to help train you, because it takes 5-6 months to go through the process, to get the asylum process, to get your credentials and all that. So we're going to spend some time training people so they can, be ready to go when the time comes for them to work. They've had 350 out of 42,000 people. What do you think? There's no way that all of them are working in ag. I think that some of them are starting to get into this dependency program that the country's providing for them, like we do in Denver. 6 months of housing.
Sure. And their wives and girlfriends are going to pump out children, our future Americans. And there's a reason why Donald Trump has got this massive union worker support coming to the Republican Party. And some of us seem to be eating it up. Like all of a sudden we want workers to be Republicans. We want union people to be Republicans. That's like saying we really want teachers to be Republicans, as we denigrate them every single time we open our mouths. I mean, come on. Where does the hypocrisy end? Do we really want to call ourselves conservatives if we gain more of the public money than the Democrats do? Is that where we're going? Because it makes no sense to me to be fighting for that giant printing press in the sky and more than the Democrats, because that's all we're doing. Nobody is fighting for competition and fairness and all that jazz.
Or even to reduce the debt. I mean, we're at $34 trillion right now. And to your point, Donald Trump did not do good things for that debt.
He's the king of debt. He calls himself the king of debt. He uses the government bankruptcy courts as the foundation of every one of his business plans. How in the heck is that conservative, fellas?
That's not. I will tell you that. That is not. Jim, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much.
Jim.
Jim's line will be open 303-696-1971. Again, another headline here. They're improving, or they're getting more money going to this Work Ready program for immigrants in the city of Denver. 350 have gone through this program that they're spending money on, And this is supposed to provide credentials such as first aid, CPR, construction, food safety, and early childhood education certification for illegal immigrants coming, asylum seekers program in the city of Denver out of 42,000 that have come through.
Now, this is a really, really good example of why and how these government programs fail. And I am going to define it based on the lack of one word in this work training program. There is a single word that is missing out of this program, and that is why it fails. That word is mandatory. The work training is not mandatory. And this is the fun part is we got some of the smaller members of the Hunt clan hanging with us in the studios today. I'm going to ask you, Jeff, as a dad, if you didn't make things like, cleaning your room, cleaning up after dinner, taking a shower, mandatory in the Hunt household.
All video games all day, baby. That's the only thing they'd be doing.
That's exactly it.
Cheetos and playing video games.
That's the point. And the issue is this. There are people in charge at Denver that have kids. You know this. This is not a secret that in many ways, when people are put into uncomfortable situations and they're into a new situation, allowing them to make the choice, they are going to turtle. They're going to pull back because new is scary and dangerous, and they're going to just not want to do it. Nobody wants to stand up on the first day of class and speak in front of the class. No, well, except for me. I won't shut up. But
you had no problem.
Exactly. No problem with that one, but that explains a lot.
Bill, I appreciate that. That needs to be mandatory. My perspective is the government shouldn't be doing this, period. You shouldn't be here. I understand if you're, and I don't want to get into the asylum.
That's fine. We'll put that aside. Yeah, we'll put that aside. We'll ignore that today. Not a problem.
The
That's
idea
fair.
that it's our job as taxpayers to create programs for people who have come here illegally to try to get certification so that they can work here while they're here illegally. I don't like the entire scheme. It's not our job. It's not our role. All right. I am going to talk to you, though, about QC Kinetics. Life in Colorado is awesome this time of year, but not so much if you've got joint pain in your knees or shoulders. The good news is that QC Kinetics is here with the most advanced treatments using regenerative medicine. They harness the healing power from your own body to restore and repair your damaged joint tissue. So many of our listeners have had this done, and they're so grateful they're pain-free. Look, got older folks in my life that got joint problem. The last thing you want to do is surgery, because once you go under the knife, you got a whole lot of other complications that come up. Why not try regenerative medicine where your own body helps heal it? QC Kinetics can get you moving again with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. This is the future of medicine, and the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics can get you started with a free consultation. QC Kinetics has clinics in Aurora and Superior. If your shoulder, back, knee, elbow is always hurting, if it hurts to walk or lift something, you need to check this out, and you can get lasting relief. Do it now so you can enjoy the Colorado summertime like you deserve. This is the best time of the year to be outside having fun. And if you got pain, like they said, no downtime. It could start working right away, so go check them out. Next generation joint pain relief is here at QC Kinetics, 303-900-8986, 303-900-8986. Get a free consultation, painfreecolorado.com, 303-900-8986. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. The next 2 hours are going to be amazing. You're not going to want to miss this. Peter Yu is live in studio. He just walked in. We've got him settled in. He's going to be joining us in the 8 o'clock hour. Peter is a candidate for Congressional District 4, and I haven't spent a lot of time with him. I'm very excited to get to know him better. Young, promising guy. It's going to be interesting. We're in the final kind of stretch of the race. This is going to be decided Tuesday night. We're going to know Wednesday. We're also tracking all the details coming through on SCOTUS blog, waiting for some major U.S. Supreme Court decisions to be possibly released at 8 a.m. in about 5 or 6 minutes. So we'll be tracking that as well. And then in the 9 o'clock hour, Lauren Boebert is going to be live in studio as well. So they're all making their last-minute pitches, trying to earn those last-minute votes. By the way, if you haven't voted yet, it's too late to put it in the mailbox. You got to drive it to one of those polling locations. So do all that ballot harvesting. Grab those 15 illegal ballots from your family. Sorry.
Become a mule.
Become a mule.
Yes.
I think we took
Do it
down
like the Democrats.
I think we took down a movie about that.
Yes, we did. 'Cause little things like facts got in the way. That
So
sucks.
it happened. It's
yes,
important.
that does. It's important.
By the way, Billy, did you see this about the homeless tower in Los Angeles?
Homeless tower?
Yep. Housing tower.
What?
The city of LA. See, this is where it goes, guys.
At first I thought it was some sort of like summer activity. We're getting the homeless together, and they were doing the pyramids like the cheerleaders. And they were doing some sort of thing. They're getting together, and we're like, let's go home. No, maybe not. Okay.
All right.
Maybe I'm
So
wrong.
Los Angeles decided to take a tower and build it and renovate it for homeless people. Okay.
So you're talking about just urinals in the hallways then?
No.
Sorry, I'm casting aspersions on their willingness to just let it go wherever.
It's got a gym, an art room, a music room, a TV lounge, and balconies with views of the LA skyline. Guess how much it costs per unit to build?
Ooh, how much?
$600,000.
Ew.
With some going to $837,000. So yeah, if you think the city of Denver is crazy for spending $155 million on the homeless, guess what LA is doing? I mean, they're building entire 19-story units.
At least it's not in San Francisco, because we know they only approved 8 housing developments, 18.
Yeah, that's right. It's the last 6 months.
That's it. So they're not doing it. What are I'm curious about the qualifications are. How do you get into homeless tower? And again, what do you do if you're the neighbor?
I might just move to LA to take one of them.
It's free. Free's
and
good.
then you get these universal basic incomes. And
free's
dude,
my second favorite F word. That's great.
Everything's provided. Peter Hughes up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
8 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. Also broadcasting live on YouTube, X, and Rumble. All you have to do is type in 710 KNUS into the search bar there. You can see our smiling faces. You can see Peter Yu here in a second as well. My name is Jeff Hunt. I'm a co-host on the show along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center, and a lot of times pretty crazy. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. Peter Yu, open to taking questions as well. So give us a call, 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. Text us on the 710 KNUS app, especially if you live in Congressional District 4. Primary is this Tuesday. Who are you voting for? Or who did you vote for? Who got your vote? I would love to hear from that. Peter would like to hear that as well. So text us on the 710 KNUS app. Let's grab your coffee, Denver, and dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. We're also tracking breaking news coming through on the Supreme Court stuff. We'll give you an update on that as well. It looks like new decision coming, but we're going to have to analyze this before we get to any breaking news. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 64 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the low 90s today. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, the U.S. Supreme Court could issue some major opinions this hour. Among the cases being considered is former President Trump's claim that he is immune from prosecution for alleged crimes committed while president. 2 boys were shot at the Meadowlark Apartments in Aurora. A 12 and 14-year-old were found wounded and taken to a hospital to be treated for non-life-threatening injuries. At least 4 teenagers detained after the shooting.
My heart was racing because it's so close to home, and I was scared that maybe one of the bullets could have went through my house and got my other daughter because she was home at the time too. If they're willing to shoot in broad daylight, we never know what can happen.
Frightening. One person believed to be involved in the shooting may still be at large. No charges were filed. 19-year-old Leslie Vicente went missing a week ago while she was driving home to Aurora from Greeley. She was last seen on the night of June 13th, driving southbound on US 85 between Platteville and Fort Lupton. Aurora police asking for your help. She's described as a Hispanic woman, 5'2", 120 pounds, black hair and brown eyes. Investigators say they're concerned for her safety, and anyone with information should contact Aurora Police. Colorado Parks and Wildlife has confirmed the first fatal wolf attack on livestock in Rowe County. A calf was found dead in the county on Sunday, and wildlife officials found evidence consistent with a wolf attack. The White House has canceled a high-level meeting that was scheduled for today with Israeli officials. Axios reports the move was in response to a video posted by Benjamin Netanyahu in which he claimed the U.S. was withholding military aid. President Biden's top advisors were reportedly enraged by the video. Jeff and Billy in a great discussion about mass deportation last hour. On CNN, the lefties learning that it is true that Hispanics support mass deportation.
Mass deportations has majority support in the United States and among Hispanic voters right now. It's recent polling. You can look it up. No, it is at Maria. It is absolutely true. When we get off the air and you Google it, you're going to be embarrassed, but it's absolutely true.
I will send you the actual polling from pollsters who actually know how to poll on this issue.
You're going to be embarrassed.
I will send this to you after our
the
segment.
CBS poll, 53%.
I have issues with that poll because of exactly what I'm saying. But
Well, you never know with Google. They may have pushed it down a page or two by now. Hey, the Taffy Shop in Estes Park has been voted the best candy store in the nation.
Taffy Shop opened in 1934, making the same recipe in the store every day and
meeting people that have been coming here for decades and generations.
That's owner Mark Eigel, who's proud to find out the shop took the top spot.
I love that place.
Oh man, I love it.
It's
too.
so good. Every time we go,
So
you have to
cool.
stop there.
Yeah, you get to watch it.
Exactly.
Our mom used to take us up there probably once a month in the summer. It was awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And last time I was up there, unfortunately, you had a lot of kids around there watching, but then you had the portion of the kids that are staring at their phones. And I'm like,
right,
yeah,
right.
I want to go
Put
there and
your phones
slap the
away.
phone out of their hand. It's like,
That's
listen,
right.
just look at this.
It's
You're
so
going to learn
cool
something here.
watching
But
that.
yeah, it is. Oh, I'm
One
glad
of
they got number
one
one.
of the great inventions. And
Absolutely, my friend.
keeps dentists in business.
Yes.
It was USA Today's Reader's Choice Award for that honor.
Congratulations.
For them. Yeah, no, that's cool.
The Rockies would love to do the same here. High fly ball, deep enough. It should be. Cave tagging, catch made by Piles. They'll never get it. Rockies win it. Brett Doyle.
Brenton Doyle hit a walk-off sac fly in the bottom of the ninth as the Rockies beat the Dodgers 7-6 at Coors.
I was just trying to get a ball up in the zone, allowed me to drive the ball somewhere in the air and deep enough to where I can score Jake. And he got me a slider up in the zone, put a decent swing on it, and hit it deep enough to get him in.
Rockies and Dodgers today at 1:10 at the ballpark, getaway day, and Jeff and his family will be there. The Nationals at the Rocks tomorrow night, and an awesome former, I think, Loveland running back in studio next. Peter Yu, stay tuned. 62 in Parker, 61 in Lafayette, 64 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Thursday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast, partly cloudy to cloudy, warmer, upper 80s and lower 90s with afternoon and evening thunderstorms and showers likely, a few of which could get strong. Watch out for a few strong thunderstorms with heavy rain and hail this afternoon and evening. Lows tonight, low 60s. We do it all over again, upper 80s Friday, and Friday also will bring a good chance of showers and storms. Warm for the weekend, but less in the way of thunderstorms. Still have some isolated ones, but not as many. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Joining us live in studio, he's a candidate for Congressional District 4's Peter Yu. They're on their final stretch. Tuesday, that campaign will be decided, and they're coming by to make their final pitches. Right after Peter Yu is going to be Lauren Boebert. Peter, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Jeff, thank you so much for inviting me today. It's an honor to be on you and Bill's show here today and be able to talk a little bit.
Football player.
A long time ago. Absolutely. A long time ago.
Thanks to Blake for bringing that in.
Thank you, Blake, for knowing that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure Peter and I can be friends now.
Real football.
Yeah,
Billy, not
I
that
played
run
the real
around
football.
in the...
No, I played the real football. That's the thing is because it's just I'm a lifelong soccer player, and so the football soccer thing, it's kind of a friendly rivalry. So it's nice to have a football player, and I appreciated that he didn't try to chop block me when he was coming down the hallway. So I appreciate it. It was very nice. It was very very cordial of you.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
So, Peter, why are you better than all the other candidates? Let's go through this here. You got Jerry Sonnenberg, you got Mike Lynch, you got Richard Holtorf, you've got Deborah Flora, and you've got Lauren Boebert. Why are you the best out of all of them to represent Congressional District 4?
Well, I think I have two reasons why. One, I think I am a true representation. I spend every moment I can talking to every single constituent in this district, regardless if they're Republican, Democrat, unaffiliate. I've always been that way. In my 6 years of being involved, I return every single phone call myself. I answer every single email myself. I spend 8 to 10 hours every day knocking on doors, canvassing, standing in front of venues, making sure I actually talk to the constituents, not, having some staff member or just, throwing out, the same campaign promises we hear every election cycle, and then never see them again. That's not who I am. I'm about making sure that if you have a problem, I'm going to be the one answering your phone call and giving you the time that you need to be addressing your situation. But I think the second thing is I have a very strong business background where I've been able to ascend to some of the highest levels of corporate America, and run projects that are multi-million-dollar budgets, being able to, hire and staff, thousands of people, be able to run programs that, are performance-based. I think that, when you sit there and think about a lot of people who are in office, they always sit there and say, well, this is the problem, but they never have an idea what the solutions are or how to be able to implement them. Whereas me, my entire life, mine was like, what's the problem? Okay, well, what can we do to resolve these issues? Not just throw out things out there, but then also being able to implement them, being able to know who I need to be able to work with, being able to identify, how can we get this thing moving forward, as opposed to sitting there looking at other congressional offices and we try to run bill so-and-so and so-and-so. It's like, well, who cares if you try to run them if they never went anywhere? And that's what drives me crazy. So many people do this grandstanding. They run bills that are dead on arrival. They don't even have any support for it. Why would you run something that you don't even have the votes for? And that just drives me crazy. And that's why someone always asks me, Pete, why are you running? Well, I'm a big believer that, if you want something done, you do it yourself. And I do believe that I can get a lot more done than other candidates or congressional people who are in office right now.
Now, you run for some other seats. You ran for U.S. Senate. You've run for Congress before. You think you're going to win this time?
I feel good about what's going on. I mean, in the most recent poll, and obviously polls are what they are. You take it with a grain of salt. And granted, it's a minor lead, but I've moved up to second now in that last poll.
Really?
And obviously the person in front of me is coming on here shortly. Now, granted, this was a poll of likely Republican voters. And I've spoken to people that I have a lot of faith and trust in. And they said, Pete, if that poll would have been done like a week after, after the CBS and the 9 News debates, where people had a chance to digest that information, they feel that my numbers would have been even much more stronger and Lauren's would actually have been down. Now, obviously, you take that for what it is.
I kind of felt like 9 News kept you to the side. I'll be honest with you. They didn't go to you as much as they did others. And maybe it's because they want to focus on personal issues. I mean, that debate did not get into Ukraine, Israel, or any oil and gas issues. No. But we're going to talk about some candidates' DUI years ago and what happened to Lauren Boebert. So they didn't get into substantive. And they didn't get to you that much.
I mean, you're exactly right. And, and a lot of people I'm associated with, well, Pete, they had nothing to talk to you about in regards to that scenario there.
Yeah.
Where you are actually, you basically do your business the way it should be done. I've never broken the law. I've always tried to live my life in, a way that, I want people to, when they look at me and they're sit there and say, that's someone that could represent me. That's actually a good guy, whatever it may be. And that's how I live my life.
So you didn't raise your hand. What was that? That was a famous video where they all raised their hands if they had been arrested before.
You
didn't raise your hand during that video.
I have never been arrested and I've never broken the law, so.
To that poll, it seems like Lauren Boebert is the lead horse right now.
Correct.
She's got money. She's got name ID. How do you overcome that?
So thank you for bringing that up, Jeff, because I've actually, we spoke a little bit off air here. I decided when I decided to declare for this candidacy that I was not going to do anything the normal way because I had run in a couple races before and I feel it's a waste of time. I really do. And it breaks my heart to actually take people's money and spend their hard-earned money on, the same traditional campaign, techniques, whether it's radio ad, mailers, just to keep attending the same echo chambers that we keep going to, whether they're Republican breakfasts, luncheons, Lincoln Day dinners. I didn't feel that was true representation. And I didn't feel I wanted to take people's money and do it that way. And so my mindset for the last 6 months is to go and spend 8-10 hours a day, a regular job, basically, where I'm talking to every possible constituent in the district. I got a million stories, me being yelled at, whether in the driveways or in front of rec centers, in front of a Ace Hardware or King Soopers, where I am literally being a true representation. And it's the technique that I've been using where I feel that's part of the reason why I think right now I'm running second. And I think if you actually took a different poll where you actually have it with unaffiliated voters, likely swing voters, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm the one leading by double digits in that race.
What are you hearing and what are you learning talking to all those people?
The one thing that really surprises me, Jeff, is that 90% of the people I talk to don't know a single candidate in this race. And to a certain degree, that even includes Lauren Boebert, and it doesn't surprise me. I mean, Lauren Boebert has no history or name recognition or connection to this district. So unless you follow the larger news of what she's done personally, you probably don't know who she is. But the one thing I do hear, and I did a little calculation. I've spoken between 35,000 and 40,000 people. And these are people who don't, like I said, they don't go to the, political meetings. These are people that don't follow politics whatsoever. And I mean, I can count on one hand how many people said they are supporting Lauren. But then I had the opportunity to stand with them and talk with them. And it's really amazing. Like the stuff we're talking about, whether it's the 9 News debate or any other debate we've been in, or if you go into a Republican executive meeting, monthly meeting, whatever it might be, the stuff that's discussed in those rooms, you would get a good punch in the face if you went outside to the community. People need to understand that majority of our population doesn't agree with exactly everything we say. And that's okay. That's the beauty of America, that we can have different mindsets and different thoughts. And that's why I feel I am best suited, because I'm actually the one talking to you, listening to you, and not just sitting there and saying, hey, this is a square peg. We're going to jam it in a round circle no matter what, because this is my thoughts, my beliefs. You know what? Tough luck if this is a Republican district or a Democrat district, and nobody wants that anymore. I mean, we are so divided.
Are you hearing less about issues and more about branding? So, for instance, we just don't like Republicans. Or are you hearing, I disagree with Republicans on this issue, or I disagree with Democrats on this issue? Is it more about how people feel about the parties, or is it issue oriented?
It's a little bit of both, but more so actually about the branding. Our messaging in Colorado is, and sadly, we have this identity right now that is completely wrong. In fact, I was standing in front of an Ace Hardware, and a lovely little lady came by, and I was talking to her because, by the way, I collected 90% of the signatures myself to be on the ballot. I didn't pay a single person, didn't spend a single voter's donation to do any of this stuff. This was all on me. And it was amazing. She sat there, and once she found out I was a Republican, she went off in different ways you wouldn't believe. And it was really interesting to see how this whole thing is, because when she was walking back to her car, she was basically using the cart as a walker, and she needed to walk her car back. I ran out there to go help her grab her cart so she didn't have to walk all the way back. And her statement to me was, wow, there actually is nice Republicans out there. And that's just unbelievable that so much of the population thinks we're rich. All we care about is, big businesses or so forth, like that, which is absolutely incorrect. Where I think the Republicans are actually the ones who care about the little people.
Yeah. Would you have disagreed, or did you disagree with Dave Williams' email about pride?
I did. Regardless of what your own mindset is or what your thoughts are on LGBTQT, that's your own opinion, and that's not the reflection of the party by any means.
So let's talk on issues in particular. I've asked all the candidates these different questions about issues. Let's dive into them, okay? Would you support mass deportation?
I would not, no.
Interesting. So give me your plan on immigration and the border then.
So the one thing we need to do, we need to stop throwing Band-Aid fixes out there. It drives me crazy when all you hear from candidates, and this is what you're going to hear. Let's build the wall. Let's remain in Mexico. Let's just deport people. What does that really do? We need to get this right at its core. We need to start discouraging people from coming to America. People need to understand that if you do come to America, you're not going to have a free pass to come in here. And so we need to make sure that the message is that, if you come to America, unless you truly qualify for asylum, that you actually can show credible fear. If you can't show credible fear, you're immediately going to be put on a trip back to wherever your point of origin is. We can't let people believe they're coming here. Now, as far as the people that are already here right now, we need to start making sure that, one, those who have already committed criminal offenses, I think they need to be absolutely immediately deported. I think anyone that has another pattern of not contributing to society, such as people who are, drug abuse, whether it's, they're heavily on class 1 narcotics, whatever that be, it's obviously that they are who they are. But then we need to start analyzing for the people that have been here for X amount of time. I don't believe in amnesty by any means, but you know what? We live amongst a lot of people who, have been here for, 10 plus years, and actually are good, good people within our society. Now, do I agree with how they came here? No, absolutely not. My family hasn't even been here that long. We came here in 1969, but we came here the legal way. And in reality, anyone that's come here the opposite way, it's almost a slap in the face to me and my family and what we had to do. But I understand, the situation is where we're at right now. We can't just sit there and say, let's go round up every single person who's here illegally and tell them to leave the country. I just don't think that's the right thing. And also in regards to, being able to make sure that we can supply the right jobs for certain industries, such as farming, agriculture, even manual labor. So yes.
And Peter Yu, candidate for Congressional District 4th, joining Jeff and Bill this morning. I want to follow up a little bit on that immigration question. I agree with you that mass deportation, just based on the structure, can't be accomplished. The example I give is if we had all of the illegals line up as if we're doing a queue to get into a sporting event, and we ran buses 24 hours a day, it would take us years to get everybody, even with hundreds of buses a day. It's just the large numbers. Part of the problem, and you touched on it a little bit, is our asylum process. And what I want to ask you about is that pathway to legal immigration, the pathway that your family fought for, that your family went through. If we have a large number of people that we have right now overstaying visas, claiming asylum, and even under the cover of dark or under the cover of sunshine at times with coyotes getting across our border, how can we fix our immigration and asylum process to bring in more families like yours? And I'm making this based on an assumption that some of the people that are overstaying the visas, some of the people that are claiming asylum have legitimate claims, and even some that are crossing the border illegally are not coming here to do the crimey crime stuff. That we have people that are coming here that want to actually be a part of the society. But how do we fix the process fundamentally in order to make sure it works? I'm not looking for tiny solutions. I'm just looking for your overarching theory behind it. Can we fix this at all?
I think to a certain degree we can. And I think the first step we need to do is in regards to our court system, in regards to making sure that we have the right amount of asylum judges or people who actually are going through our legal matter to be able to get cases going through quicker. Because the problem, I think, is people coming right now, they can sit there and claim that they're here for asylum, but in reality, we know 87% of the people coming across the border, they're not looking for asylum. They're looking for work. That's all they are. And so those 87% need to know you're not going to be allowed in this country whatsoever. And if you do make this gigantic, dangerous trip to America, you're going to be put right back in a bus and sent back. And if people actually understand that, we'll completely eliminate the cartel's ability to continue to advertise that you're going to get her, because they're not going to be. Now, in regards to just, we need to have judges. We need to have judges where it expedited your court case, both for people who are applying legally as well as people who are applying for asylum. And that's the problem it takes. When someone comes here and they don't have a court date till 2031, that's ridiculous. And so they know all I can do is get across the border. I'm going to be released in this country for the next 6-7 years. If you're not having a court date immediately, you need to be sent back in expedited. And so we need to make sure we have those immigration judges that we can actually process both applications, both for people who legally want to come here, who actually want to be great citizens, such as my family has, or for those who actually do qualify because they might be killed if they stay where they're at. But we need to be able to do that. And if we need to bring in an independent judge system, I'm 100% for that. If we could do that for the tax courts, why can't we do that for immigration?
Now, Peter, you have made more than my share of money and Jeff's share. You made a lot of people share money in business. So I'm going to lean on your business expertise here and drawing in part of the conversation we were having last hour. So as Peter Yu businessman, not political candidate right here, I want to talk to you about the idea of giving the homeless and the immigrants, regardless of status, free stuff. In your business, when you hired someone to work at your company, how often did you deliver a paycheck to them without them providing any work product for your company? Was that the usual, that you handed out the free stuff because you wanted to make sure they had a good life and they could pay for the houses? Or in order to participate in your company, and I'm using this analogy as America, they needed to put some skin in the game. You needed to see them have a work product before you delivered the paycheck to them? Or was it just, because if you're just giving out the paychecks, can I fill out an application right now?
Bill, you can always fill out an application, but
I'm not going to pass a background check. Just warning you.
100%. If you did not perform, you were released. And that's the reality of it. And part of the reason why I am running for office, because I've been blessed where I've been able to go from a life in poverty myself. I came from the rock bottom. I did not have anything provided to us. I mean, my family came to America, didn't speak English, flat broke, not a penny in their name. And then they made things tougher by having me I'm the only one that was born in America. But slept on the floor for many, many years. I've done literally every single job. You name a job, I've probably done it. And people are actually shocked when I actually tell them, like, I've done that. It's no big deal. And that's why it's no big deal for me to go knock on doors for 10 hours a day. I mean, it's easy.
Where's your family from?
So my mom and dad had to escape from China because
Really?
my grandparents, their parents I never met, were killed in air raids and so forth. So they had to flee to Hong Kong. And then they were there for probably about 20 years before they got approval to come to America. So we did it the right way. And that's the way everyone should do it, because if you don't come here the right way, you're not going to have the American dream. That's just the reality of what it is. But when we're talking about what Bill's talking about in a job, I mean, the reason why I always knew that if I worked hard, the paycheck's always going to be there. I was never worried about that part. The best part about my job, though, was when I had an employee come up to me and sit there and say, Peter, look at this paycheck. I never thought I would make this kind of money. And I know that was because of you. Thank you for helping me have a better life. And that was all I needed, because I knew the paycheck's going to be there. I just knew if I worked hard and helped other people achieve certain things, that's where my true benefit was. And that's why I started even thinking about running for office, because I want constituents to walk up to me and sit there and say, Peter, thank you for listening to me. We may not actually solve all the problems that they want, but for me to be able to be there for the constituents of the CD4, first time I ever ran in a Republican district, that's where my reward's going to be. And that's the reason why it's not about the paycheck. It's not about, I just want to make sure that I do something for a country that's taking care of me and my family.
So, Peter, Bill and I talk a lot about this, about the nature of political leadership. You get people that run for office because they want the name ID. They like it. They like the spotlight, right? All that stuff. You get people that run, and this is probably me, who care about issues, right? For me, it's about the advancement of issue through policy and law, sanctity of life, for instance. And then you get people that are really, really love to serve other people. Like that just, and listening to your story, I go, well, you're a constituent oriented. That's the rarest form of political leadership. Mike Kaufman reminds me of you. And
I helped Mike Kaufman on his campaign too.
And, Mike was good as a representative, but I think he's great as a mayor because he's in an executive level where he can fix somebody's problems that day. You go to Congress and it's like, all right, we'll write a letter and all this stuff. But the idea you're going to pass a law to serve a constituent, that's a much bigger task. Why not seek executive leadership? Why not seek to be the mayor of a city or a member of the county commissioner board or stuff? Just hearing you talk, I'm just throwing this out there. Why not pursue something like that?
So that's been brought up a lot, especially even more so now that I've been out there. They're going, Pete, if you don't win this primary, we need you to do these things. That has always been a possibility, but I started this, when I first started thinking about running, because I was helping out Mike Kaufman with his campaign, knocking on doors for him as well, and walking in parades for him as well, making phone calls. But that's when I started to talk to people and they go, Pete, why don't you run to be the candidate for the 2nd congressional district? Obviously a very hard Democrat district, but I did exactly what I'm doing now. And he was able to, like I said, we even had a national forecaster put his reputation line saying Peter's going to win, which that blew everybody's mind. But it was a scenario where this is where I've laid my foundation, and this is where I started, and I'm gonna finish it the way I believe it should be. Someone actually asked me when back in December, go, Pete, you need to run for 4th congressional district. Yeah. And I go, there's plenty of candidates in the race, right? I don't need to do this. And they go, well, Peter, there's nothing wrong. And everyone in that race, they're good people, but you know what? They're seat fillers. They're going to go there. They're going to vote the exact same way as Ken Buck did. They're going to do the same things and nothing's going to get done. You're the difference maker, Pete. You're the one in there. And I go, I've already run twice. They go, well, guess what? That was necessary for you to be where you are now, to be able to even have this chance, to be able to know the issues, to be able to have a little bit of name recognition, to be able to go out there and do things the way you are. But you know what? You're the one that's going to help everyone. You're the guy that answers the phone call from a city council member and sits there and goes, hey, can you help me knock on doors? I'm looking to help everyone win elections, whether it's, at every level. I don't care if it's school board, city council, state legislature, statewide races. I'm going to be the one using the weight of this seat to help us win more elections. Because if we don't win more elections, then everything we're talking about, this is just a moot point. It doesn't even matter.
Peter Yu is a candidate for Congressional District 4 here in Colorado. His website's peteryuforcongress.com, peteryuforcongress.com. We're going to continue this conversation. I want to talk to you just briefly about Gay Ribble and the Empower Home Team. We've hosted Gay multiple times in the studio. Gay is... here's the 3 reasons why I adore her. Number 1, she's a great person to work with. And if you're selling your house, you need somebody with that positive disposition to get you through such a stressful time. Secondly, she has wonderful values, right? She not only supports this radio station and the show that we're doing and what we're trying to achieve here, but she gives back to orphans in the state of Colorado because she was an orphan herself. So she wants them to find their forever home and the family that's going to care for them. So you're supporting somebody that gives back to the values that make our country great. And third, she is a titan in the real estate industry when it comes to selling homes. Look, we all have friends and family members that are real estate agents, but Gay Ribble gets her clients an average of $30,000 more because she's got over 14,700 clients pre-approved, ready, looking to purchase, ready to make that deal so she can sell your home typically 1.5 times faster and get you more money. Here's an unbeatable offer. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home Team will sell your house for 100% of the asking price, or Gay will pay you the difference. It's an offer you simply cannot refuse. Get 100% of your asking price guaranteed with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home Team. Give them a call today at 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. All right. Going through some of these text messages here. Peter Yu is probably the smartest person running for anything in Colorado. Go, Peter.
But then again, he is running, which means we have to question his sanity in the first place. Just in general. I'm just saying. I'm teasing.
Some people really like you, Peter. Some are wondering why you're a Republican.
I've been asked that question a million times. In fact, I got this great story where I was given this. I was at a candidate forum, and everyone goes, "Peter, we love your story. They said your knowledge of the issues are unbelievable. Your story of coming from poverty is unbelievable. You're a minority. Do you know you're a Democrat?" And I was going, are you kidding me that's the statement you're making to me? And once again, the stereotype of, minorities being Democrats or, whatever it may be. I'm a Republican because of policies. The one thing I've learned is that government doesn't do anything right. They don't. And I mean, you look at the United States of America, it's just every time you see the government involvement, it's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. Nothing ever gets done. I look at the VA hospital here in Denver, and it's a joke how much that was $1 billion over budget, took X amount of years extra to do it. I look at the Colorado Healthcare Exchange, how long that took extra, and we were actually fine because it took us so long, wasted the money. I sit there and think about the $52 billion that Biden put together for this nationwide access to broadband. Not a single thing happened. Why? Because they're all focusing on DEI inclusion on this whole thing. So that's why I'm a Republican, because I believe that small government is the key. I believe that the ability to go and have free will to run your life is the way to go. And the one thing that when Bill was talking about earlier about, do we just give paychecks out? You don't help anyone out. And that's what people need to understand. You may think you're helping me by telling me as a minority, oh, by the way, you're 5 steps behind a white person the minute you go out the door. That doesn't help anybody. Me giving you money to basically go do whatever you want doesn't help you. I've had people turn me down for raises, turn me down for jobs because they sat there and said, well, if I take that raise, P, I'm going to lose some of my subsidies. Or, you know what, I can't take this job until my unemployment runs out. We are not helping anyone. If you want to have a better life, if you really want to achieve that American dream, you really have got to roll your sleeves up and get to work. That's the best way I can help anyone, is to provide you a skill set that you can make more money than you ever imagined to make. And this way, you don't have to rely on the government. You don't have to worry about, geez, am I going to get a healthcare subsidy? Am I going to get a food bank? Now, I'm not saying that some people don't need this. And don't sit there and think I'm a heartless person. I mean, I'm the first one to sit there and say there should be a minor safety net, but it shouldn't be forever. If I really want to help you out, we need to make sure that we get you back on your feet with a skill set that can provide money. I live by that statement every single day in my life, that you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. You teach that man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. And what is wrong with that? What is wrong with someone being able to go and be able to provide for themselves, their family, and their communities? That's the real opportunity. And I always sit there and say this: why am I Republican? Because it's an honorable thing for me to donate money. It is not an honorable thing for the government to come take my money and then decide how they want to spend it.
Wow, Billy and I are both like, he's spitting fire.
Oh,
Peter,
I like that.
you. Woo!
I think we need that on a t-shirt. That's fantastic. That's really
Peter,
good.
you for Congress.com. We're going to continue this conversation in just a second. I want to talk to you about another great American, Dan Caplis. I've known Dan for decades. Dan's pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. He's with you on the values, and that matters because Dan says who you choose as a lawyer, who you choose as a lawyer tells everybody a lot about you involved in the case. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer. He's also a former seminarian. Dan has dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Not only is Dan with us on the values, he is a titan in that courtroom. Man, he goes to work. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call, 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com, 303-770-5551. All right, we'll continue with Peter Yu. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. Russian President Vladimir Putin has arrived in Vietnam for talks with its communist leaders just a day after also travelling to North Korea. Laura Westbrook has the story.
This is Russian President Vladimir Putin's first trip to Hanoi since 2017, and he's keen to show that efforts to isolate Russia have failed following its invasion of Ukraine in 2022, and it still has friends, particularly in Asia. Vietnam has deep historic ties to Russia, both militarily, and both countries have communist roots. Now, Vietnam has described its stance on Ukraine as neutral, and it follows a foreign policy of pursuing links with the US, Russia, and China. But the US has criticized this visit, saying that it gives Putin a platform to promote his war of aggression.
A major cyber attack has struck US car dealerships, preventing thousands of dealers from making sales. CDK Global, which provides software for sales and other services, said they were the victim of the attack, preventing around 15,000 dealerships across 8 states from fully operating. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us in studios, Peter Yu. At 9 o'clock hour, Lauren Boebert's going to be here. So all the candidates are in the final stretch of this Congressional District 4 Republican primary, making their final cases. This is why I'd be best. We're talking issues now with Peter Yu. Peter, let's talk Ukraine. Would you have voted to spend money in Ukraine?
So this is such a touchy subject, and I'm not in favor of supporting never-ending wars. However, I don't want us to be short-sighted on what the realities of what Russia wants to do. They want to rekindle the USSR. Simple as that. And so the question is if we don't support Ukraine and they do take Ukraine falls, how do we know they're not going to start attacking the Baltic states or Poland or something else where all of a sudden now it's a NATO nation and now we're involved with that whole scenario where it's going to cost a lot more money than what we've already put into the game so far. And now there's a good chance we might have American soldiers' lives on boots on the ground. And so that's something I would love to evaluate and see where this is going. But I need to know what the end game is. As a business person, I can't just sit there and say, here's another check to whatever it may be and how's this money being spent. But I want to know, what is the game plan? What's the end game? Are we going to actually have a resolution of this? How are you going to win this war? Which they probably can't win it against Russia. So we need to actually come to the peace talks. And that's why we do need a stronger leader than who's in the White House right now to be able to instigate that whole process there, because Russia needs to understand that, you know what, we're not going to just stand by while they have this war. And so we need to understand, how can we end this thing? Because it can't go on forever, obviously. But if we can make sure that, you know, we can handcuff them a little bit, whether it's energy or whether it be something else in regards to something, we need to let them know that so that we can go down that road. But right now, I would say, yes, I would support that to the degree that I know how the money's being spent. We're not just funding basically Zelensky or anything else going on in those regards.
Or Hunter Biden.
Exactly. But we had to understand, it was like, okay, great, fine. We cut them off, Ukraine falls. And then what happens if they end up attacking a NATO nation? Is that a scenario that we just sit there and turn our back on NATO? Of course we don't. And so that's going to be even a lot more money. So it's easy to just sit here in my chair and sit there and say, oh, I'm going to say exactly what the Republicans want me to say. As you and I were talking a little bit off camera as well. You know what? There's a solid part of this community in CD4 who sits there and says they do want us to continue to support. So it's a scenario there. It's not a yes, no question. I want to know exactly on the thing. And obviously, I'm only privy to the information I see on the news right now. If I was in DC, I would love to be able to know exactly why money's being wasted or if it's being wasted at all. And I want to know, what are we doing diplomatically to try to end this war? Because right now, just sending more checks is a waste of our United States money, especially considering we're almost at $35 trillion in debt. And I'm actually the one candidate in this race who said I would not use earmarks. I don't believe in unuseful government waste, as well as, you know, special interest groups, whatever it might be. But when it comes to Ukraine, you know, right now I would, because I don't want to be short-sighted, but at the same point, I need to know how every single penny is spent, not a blank check. And I want to know, what are you doing to end this war? And if you can't give me an answer, well, then at that point, it's like Ukraine's going to fall anyways.
Let's talk Israel.
100% support Israel. Right now, they are our allies in the Middle East. You know, it's sad, because I do believe this, that, you know, if Hamas laid down their guns, there would be peace. However, if Israel laid down their guns, there'd be a war. And so it's never going to end in that scenario there. And I do believe that we do need to support Israel in this sadly attack that happened October 7th.
Let's talk national abortion ban. Would you support that? Are you pro-life?
I am pro-life. I do believe in protecting the life of the unborn. Now, that being said, Jeff, and you probably won't agree with me on this one, I do not believe in a national ban. I don't. Like I said, as I said earlier, I believe the government does not do anything correct. And I believe that you give them an inch, it's going to go miles and miles. And I don't think you should have a centralized federal government telling 50 states how to live their lives. And I don't believe that you can pick and choose when it's right for you, for the federal government to be involved. So I do not support a federal ban.
My pushback on that is America doesn't tend to do very well when it comes to really big moral issues, allowing one state to do one thing. And we fought a big war over this, right? The idea that one state was going to be allowed to engage in slavery and another wasn't, because the moral question at the end of the day was, Is it a human being or is it property? And with abortion, we have to wrestle with that same question. So I think that's where I think America will have to come to terms with this, because we're never going to just allow, if you fundamentally believe those like philosophical issues, we don't, as America, like allow states to have one side or the other.
And that's the big dilemma out there. And in regards to what is considered conception, when is life started?
When does life begin?
And that's obviously, in my mind, it is that conception. However, I also know that there is a strong part of the population that does not believe that. And for me to sit there and, have that argument with them it's a never ending quest. And so the one thing I can say about that is that, like I said, the thought of the federal government saying, well, hey, we did it here, why can't we do it there? And so I am not for the federal ban on that in that scenario.
Let's talk debt. How do you get, we're at a place now where the interest on $34 trillion is bigger than our entire defense budget.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate this because I remember Ken Buck and I would talk about this, because he was kind of a fiscal conservative too, but nobody really cares about the debt, because how did it affect my life when we were at $28 trillion in debt? Now we're at $34 trillion in debt. How does that affect me? And we haven't made that argument as to how it affects people. And so what we're essentially doing is just careening towards eventually a cliff, because you can't do this. This is not sustainable.
Not at all. And how does it affect you? Well, what did you pay for, a carton of eggs when it was 28 million or $28 trillion? What did you pay for, energy back in the day? So spending is the main reason why our inflation is where it's at. And so regardless if we do nothing or not, the rubber is going to meet the road. You look at what's going on here in, even when Jamie Dimon is talking about the national, who's a Democrat, saying we're driving at a clip at 60 miles an hour. We know we're in trouble. So we need to start making the moves that people need to understand. First thing starts with government, cutting government. And that's a fact. So I think we need to start going down the road of looking at every single agency and doing a 15% cut. Absolutely. People are going to
you speak like a true businessman. Straight 15%.
Why can't
you figure it out, agency? But this is the bar.
Exactly. And by the way, no one would even notice. No one would even notice we cut 15% of all government right now.
I agree entirely. It's like when Elon Musk cut, all those jobs at Twitter.
Well, think about companies every day. Every day, companies, whether they file bankruptcy, restructure, or they whatever they may be. Guess what? These people find jobs afterwards. We have a full open wide job market out there. 10 million jobs aren't being filled. People will get other jobs. No one would even notice if we cut 15% of every government agency. We would be fine. And that would help going a long way. It's ever having even raised the debt limit anymore, or being able to even worry about our spending. We have got to start doing it, because guess what? In 10 years, Social Security is insolvent. And people who sit there and go, don't touch my Social Security. Guess what? We don't need to, because you're going to lose money anyways, because by the year 2035, the full benefits can be cut down to 83%. So you know what? People wake up out there and realize we have to do something.
Talking with Peter Yu, he's a candidate for Congressional District 4. We're going to continue this conversation. I want to talk to you first about UltraCur. Look, there's plenty of curcumin products out there on the market. They want to make you pay to try it. What is curcumin? Well, it's a natural daily supplement, helps you deal with pain, helps you deal with soreness, and it gives you the true edge to support your peak wellness, energy, and active lifestyle. But UltraCur believes so much in their product, they're willing to give it away for a free 3-day trial. All you have to do is go to any Denver Metro Natural Grocers, ask for the health coach or the vitamin manager for your free 3-day trial of UltraCur. UltraCur is a patented non-prescription natural capsule that works fast. Get curious, Denver. Head to the Natural Grocers and grab your free 3-day UltraCur trial with no strings attached. If you're wondering about the research, get the lowdown at getultranow.com. That's getultranow.com. We'll continue with Peter Yu in just a second. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show, talking with Peter Yu. We've only got about a minute. Peter, give us your closing argument as to why you should be the nominee for the Republican Party in Congressional District 4.
Well, I just want to say thank you to Jeff and Bill for having me on the morning. It's an honor to be here. And I just want to say to the constituents out there, if you're looking for true representation, someone that's going to personally answer your phone call when you need help, I have without a doubt that I'm that person. I'm not going to sit up here and grandstand. I don't ever even ask for an endorsement. I've never asked for one single endorsement because why? I believe that's the problem with DC. I think that's the reason why people are beholden to when they actually get there, because they're obligated. I'm the person that's all about you 100%. That's why I spend, 8 to 10 hours a day knocking on doors, talking to you personally, regardless of what your party affiliation is. I want to make sure that you realize that, we all got serious problems. Let's keep our eye on the ball. Let's stop talking about, the single issue items that, may or may not affect you. Let's talk about what affects you when you wake up in the morning, whether it's how much does it cost to turn on my heat, or how much does it cost to go to the grocery stores, or why can't I take a summer trip this year because it's too expensive? That's what I'm focused on. I want to make sure I represent you. So I'm asking for your vote. I hope that you would be proud of me being your next representative.
PeterYouForCongress.com is his website if you want to learn more about him. Peter, thanks so much for being on the show. Coming up next, Lauren Boebert is going to join us live in studio. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Nine 8 Mile High City, good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center, and most of the time pretty crazy. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear, and she's willing to take calls. Lauren Boebert is in studio, so give us a call, 303-696-1971. She'll answer all your tough questions this morning, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. It's great to have Peter Yu in studio. Very impressive young man. We're he's older than me. He looks younger than me.
Yeah,
That's because he's so fit.
It looks way younger than me, too. and I'm a little jealous that he still has all that hair. I mean, it's the genetics in my family, not
Let me
so
tell
much.
you, Billy, about advanced hair.
Yes, exactly. One of the advertisers.
So we had Peter Yu. It is the final week. Tuesday is when the primary for Congressional District 4 wraps up. Peter Yu was in studio just last hour. We had Deborah Flora, I think yesterday or the day before. We had Jerry Sonnenberg. This is the show where they all come to be a part of. Mike Lynch last week, and now Lauren Boebert live in studio. By the way, if you want to see us in transition from radio to television viewing, you can go to YouTube, X, or Rumble, and type in 710 KNUS. We're going to talk with Lauren Boebert and ask the tough questions right after the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 69 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the low 90s today. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
So my mom and dad had to escape from China because my grandparents, their parents I never met, were killed in air raids and so forth. So they had to flee to Hong Kong. And then they were there for probably about 20 years before they got approval to come to America. So we did it the right way. And that's the way everyone should do it, because if you don't come here the right way, you're not going to have the American dream.
Yes, Congressional District 4 candidate Peter Yu in the studio last hour, and he's lowering his shoulder and running hard to the goal line, just like he did when he was a running back at Loveland High School. He says some ideas discussed in executive GOP meetings don't jive with conservative voters.
The stuff that's discussed in those rooms, you would get a good punch in the face if you went outside to the community. People need to understand that majority of our population doesn't agree with exactly everything we say, and that's okay. That's the beauty of America, that we can have different mindsets and different thoughts. And that's why I feel I am best suited, because I'm actually the one talking to you, listening to you, and not just sitting there and saying, hey, this is a square peg, we're going to jam in a round circle no matter what, because this is my thoughts, my beliefs. You know what, tough luck if this is a Republican district or a Democrat district, and nobody wants that anymore.
Pounds it into the end zone for the touchdown. Lauren Boebert leads in CD4, and she joins the fellas next. The Supreme Court will issue more opinions tomorrow, as it still has some major decisions to hand down before it's expected to recess at the end of the month. Among them are a ruling on former President Trump's claim that he is immune from prosecution for alleged crimes committed while in office. Other looming decisions include cases on the obstruction charges against the January 6th Capitol rioters and abortion access in medical emergencies. The conservative majority court is also expected to rule on whether states that prohibit social media companies from removing posts based on a political view violate free speech. The White House has canceled a high-level meeting that was scheduled for today with Israeli officials. The move was in response to a video posted by Bibi Netanyahu in which he claimed the U.S. was withholding military aid. 2 boys were shot at the Meadowlark Apartments in Aurora on Wednesday. A 12 and 14-year-old were found wounded and taken to a hospital to be treated for non-life-threatening injuries. At least 4 teenagers detained after the shooting.
My heart was racing because it's so close to home, and I was scared that maybe one of the bullets could have went through my house and got my other daughter because she was home at the time too. If they're willing to shoot in broad daylight, we never know what can happen.
One person believed to be involved in the shooting may still be at large. No charges were filed. The Taffy Shop in Estes Park has been voted the best candy store in the nation.
Taffy Shop opened in 1934, making the same recipe in the store every day and meeting people that have been coming here for decades and generations.
That's the owner, Mark Eigel, who is proud to find out and was proud to find out that the shop took the top spot in USA Today's Reader's Choice Awards.
The Rockies would love to do the same here. High fly ball, deep enough, it should be. Cave tag and catch made by Piles. They'll never get it. Rockies win it.
Doyle hit a walk-off sac fly in the bottom of the ninth as the Rockies beat the Dodgers 7-6 at Coors.
I was just trying to get a ball up in the zone, allowed me to drive the ball somewhere in the air and deep enough to where I can score Jake. And he got me a slider up in the zone, put a decent swing on it, and hit it deep enough to get him in.
All right, Jeff and the family will be out at Coors today at 1:10. First pitch, Dodgers and the Rockies getaway day. Nationals at the Rockies tomorrow
Now, Blake,
night.
now,
yes.
I just want to let you know that Jeff has told me that if the listeners find him at the ballpark, he's more than happy to take pictures and sign balls. I'm just saying, if you find him, it's like a where's Waldo?
I'm a total baseball nerd when it comes to scoring a game.
Uh-huh.
I sit
You
there
like
and
that,
I
huh?
love it. It's like
No
a way for
kidding.
me to check out, and I will sit there and
Yes.
count all the strikes and all the balls, and I will run
Wow.
around. So I will not be the most friendly, most engaging. Let's drink some beers and take pictures. I'm like,
Man, you are a nerd.
I'm a
You
total
like
nerd.
scoring baseball.
I like scoring
That's
baseball. I
awesome.
got my own personal
That's really
scoring
cool.
book too.
Do you?
I do.
Is that right? That's one of the coolest things, man. When you go to baseball games, that's what people don't understand. When you see, I mean, they really get into it. People who love to score, and it is awesome to see the.
I have
the
looked
books.
up
I'd
for
love to see
like
yours.
score training. How do you become a professional baseball scorer? All that stuff.
Wow.
It used to be the news and media guys that did that. It was
Yeah.
the newspaper guys.
No doubt. No
that did
doubt.
that. But, Blake, have you ever thrown out a first pitch?
No, not in a major league,
But in any
ballpark,
game?
in a minor league
Did you?
ballpark in East Texas in Tyler.
You threw out
yeah.
a first pitch?
I made sure I got
Have you
it there,
thrown,
too.
Lauren? Have you thrown out a first pitch ever?
I have not.
We need to make that happen at the Congressional
I
Baseball.
do enough embarrassing things on camera. I don't need to be on the mound.
Lauren would throw that fastball right down the pipe.
She would.
No doubt.
I was actually at the congressional baseball game with my boys.
Did
yes.
you join? Are you going to play on the team ever?
I might want to play next year. I just learned this year that we could actually be runners for the older members of Congress who can't run. I was like, I didn't know that was an option. I could totally run the bases.
There you
yes.
go.
That would be
Designated
fun.
runners.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. They need to do that.
Yeah, because then when they do the TV shot of who's scoring that you get the glory. You come across
Yeah.
the plate.
That's right.
It
That's
doesn't
right.
matter
I
who
made
hit
the
it. Who
run.
cares about
I bet
that?
she could hit. I bet you could swing. Did you play baseball or softball growing
I
up?
did not. No, I was a cheerleader.
Were you?
Yeah, go figure, huh?
What high school is that, Lauren?
Loudon. Rifle High School.
What was it?
Rifle High School.
Rifle. I forgot you went to Rifle.
I
That's
did,
right.
yes.
It's awesome. Great football program. Great job, Rifle.
Go Bears.
All right. Go Bears.
Were you a flyer?
I was.
My wife was a flyer too.
Yes.
That's
way up.
dangerous.
It is. It is. You
It's a
guys
lot of
get
work.
hurt a lot.
So, Lauren, did you actually watch the football games, or did you know what was going on during the games?
So I was actually, I couldn't see what was going on because all the football players are in front of us.
Right,
So I had to
right.
listen for cues. We didn't have big screens or anything to watch. And
Right.
so there was very little of any game that I could actually see. The basketball games, we could see those, you know.
Yeah. The reason I ask is my wife's friend said she was a cheerleader for 4 years at Arapahoe High School. And she just found out what first down and second down meant like a year ago. And that was like 35 years ago when she was a cheerleader. So I thought that was pretty funny. All right, I'll leave you guys alone. 66 in Englewood, 65 in Superior, 69 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Thursday. Lauren Boebert is next. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast, partly cloudy to cloudy, warmer, upper 80s and lower 90s with afternoon and evening thunderstorms and showers likely, a few of which could get strong Watch out for a few strong thunderstorms with heavy rain and hail this afternoon and evening. Lows tonight, low 60s. We do it all over again, upper 80s Friday, and Friday also will bring a good chance of showers and storms. Warm for the weekend, but less in the way of thunderstorms. Still have some isolated ones, but not as many. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, she doesn't need any introduction, but I'll give one anyways. She's currently the congresswoman from Congressional District 3, running in the Republican primary for Congressional District 4. Representative Lauren Boebert is in studio with us. Thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, wonderful to be with y'all this morning.
morning.
This is fantastic.
All right. You got the Trump endorsement.
I do.
You got the money. You got the momentum. You got the name ID. Are you locking this thing up and winning on Tuesday?
Locking this up, winning on Tuesday. And this victory is all glory to the people in the 4th District. I have traveled the 21 counties and have been earning trust and support. They are informed voters at Assembly. They nominated me to receive that top line on the ballot. So in everybody's ballot, I'm that first name, that first bubble to fill in for this election. And that's because the voters in the district believe that that's where I should be on the ballot. But while we're talking about the ballot, I don't want to just talk about me. Everyone in CD4 needs to go to the bottom of the
Flip it
ballot.
over.
Yes. Some are on the back, some are on the very bottom of the first page. But that special election, Greg Lopez, I need him for the remainder of the year. So be sure to fill out the entire ballot, go all the way to the bottom.
It'd be weird to have a Democrat in CD4 for 6 months.
I would shout insurrection. That would be an insurrection in Colorado.
So, let's talk about your race, because it hasn't been easy for you. And I want to remind people the chronology of this. So there was one person that wanted to challenge Ken Buck to a primary. He got out early.
Right.
So Ken says, I'm not just going to retire, I'm getting out early.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden there's a special election. Greg Lopez wins the nomination on that. By the way, to your point, yep, we absolutely got to get Greg across the finish line in just a few weeks. So and then some people jump in, but you didn't jump in right away, if I remember. I think did Deb Flora get in quick, Jerry Sonnenberg, and then you got in a little bit later.
Yes, so it was about the end of December, right after Christmas is when I announced that I was running for the 4th District. And my boys and I moved to Windsor just a few short weeks after that. And it's been wonderful there.
And I think it's important for people to understand this, that this wasn't, because you sometimes get labeled a carpetbagger as if you're moving the district to keep your job or something like that. But there was this was a personal move too.
Right.
Right.
First, as a priority, this was a family first decision. My boys and I, we needed a fresh start, and it's no secret. There's been a lot of public display and what was going on at home. And, we needed to break free from that and have a hard reset. And so I evaluated a lot of things. How do I get my boys away, make sure that they're safe, that they are living their best life, that they're prospering? And then what am I going to do for the conservative movement? Because I don't believe that I'm done with this. I'm at the tip of the spear for most of the fights that we're having. I've been blessed to have a very strong voice in what I'm doing and a platform to actually move things that are important and deliver for Colorado and our nation.
Boys safe now? Are you feeling happy in the neighborhood and the community you're in?
Absolutely. So Windsor has been so welcoming. My son, Caden, he's 14 years old. He's playing baseball. So I was just at a baseball game with him the other night, and he has another one this evening. It's been wonderful. And Windsor's so amazing. Obviously, it's growing. There's about 38,000 people there, but it has such a small town feel. And so we've been in Rifle and Silt for 25 years. And so it's not too bad. It's like we're in a small town, but we have places to go. Like we could go shopping if we want to. That's different.
Now, Lauren Boebert joining Jeff and Bill in the studio right now. She's a candidate for Congressional District 4. Lauren, I want to peel back the onion a little bit.
Yep.
And I would like you to talk to us about the difficulty of the process and the emotions involved in picking up your family and moving them to an entirely new place, and in some ways seeking a new job. There are so many members of our listening audience out there, many moms, many dads, that are finding some of their personal relationships falling apart, and they have to make this new start as well. But you have to do it while also standing in the spotlight. Can you
Yes.
talk to us about the difficulty and the emotions involved in choosing the right place for your family, choosing that fresh start, and some of the slings and arrows that were thrown towards you that really were not needed and weren't necessary?
Sure. Yes. Well, the slings and arrows come from all over the place, but it is challenging anytime you make a life move and have these serious changes in your world. Especially with my boys, there was a lot of prayer, a lot of discussion, a lot of "this isn't your fault" and "we still love you" kind of conversations. It wasn't too long after I moved to Windsor that I was only crying myself to sleep once a week. So, but it is challenging. I left my mom, my brothers, my nieces, so many people that I've grown up with, my church, my pastors, and but I believe that God was leading us here. Definitely prayed about where to move to, and Windsor was always the place that was highlighted where I kept going back to, and that's where we went. But I get slings and arrows on everything, so that really does not move me. And as a Christian, I know that comes up a lot. I'm not moved by the attacks. I'm not moved by the negative emotions that people surround me with. I'm moved by the Word of God. I'm moved by my faith, and that's what I want to pay attention to. I mean, that is why I'm able to keep going, because no matter how hard they try to attack me, I know that that's not going to define me. I know the real me, what my purpose is. I know that I am serving in Congress to deliver for Colorado, for our nation, to be a strong voice for our Christian values, for our conservative values, and to make a difference. And so in everything that I'm doing, we're not going to read that I've passed more legislation in the House this Congress than any other member of the Colorado delegation on the front page of the Denver Post, right? They're not going to talk about these things, about infrastructure projects that I've delivered on, or water storage projects, or how I am helping fund forest management. So we're proactive rather than reactive to all the catastrophic wildfires. We have 6 billion standing dead trees in the West, all waiting to create a massive tinderbox. And the Democrats' answer is just, we'll wait for the fire and then we'll put it out. And, we need our forests to be healthy, so we have healthy watersheds. 80% of our municipal water comes from our national forest. So these are things that are on my mind each and every day that I'm working on, but everyone else wants to be distracted by my personal life because it is so highlighted. I was asked.
Do you think it's sexist?
I don't care.
You don't care?
I don't. I mean,
they don't dive into. Look, Ken got divorced. They didn't dive into that. I mean, it's almost like a bizarre. Sorry, it's a bizarre fixation that Kyle Clark has on this stuff.
Yes, it is. Well, there are folks who would criticize me more and do criticize me more, maybe because I'm a woman and not a man. Well, you have these issues going on. Maybe you need to go home. Maybe you need to take care of your family rather than doing this. And, rather than just would you say this to a man? I kind of take it back to, would you say this if I was working at McDonald's still? Because there were days where I worked at McDonald's where I served people on a greater level than there are days that I do in Congress. And there was such that a personal experience with that, and a tangible transaction between people of generosity and kindness. Because in McDonald's, when you're wearing that green polyester shirt and that visor, your smile is a part of your uniform, and it is your job to make sure that they have a good day and come back again. And everyone who goes through the McDonald's drive-through just about has the mentality that they have made it better in life than you have. They're more wealthy than you. They've made better decisions than you. They're going farther places than you are. And so that is something that I experienced working at McDonald's every single day, that everyone thought that they had arrived and I was still struggling while I was happy and full of joy. And so I take it there, not so much, well, would you tell a man who is getting a divorce or struggling in his personal life that he needs to quit his job and go home and get everything in perfect order before he does anything else? Or, I'd rather associate it with McDonald's. No one would tell me to quit my job at McDonald's to go and take care of my family. They would say, wow, she's doing everything she can to take care of her family.
Wow. Now, Lauren, I want to explore that just for a second. I love the idea that you said when you're working at McDonald's doing the minimum wage and you're wearing the polyester uniform, that in some ways, those were greater days of service. Can you talk to us about some of the lessons you learned standing in that drive-through, dealing with those people that made you, one, a better person, a better employee, but also prepped you for the role you have right now in Congress? What were the lessons you learned then that you're now being able to implement now that you have the power?
That's a great question, because that's exactly what happened. That absolutely prepared me for where I am and every stage in between in life, because it is all about service. It's about serving other people and putting yourself last to put them first. And, through all of this, I think the best lesson I got in the service industry is whatever tantrum is being thrown right now, it's going to be over really quick. And there's going to be another opportunity to serve someone and maybe influence their day for better. Even with my own restaurant, people would come in empty, whether their stomachs were empty or maybe they were spiritually empty. Maybe they needed an encouraging word. But either way, it was my mission to ensure that people left my restaurant full.
I love that. I love that. I love the idea of understanding that you're serving the customer, not just handing the food in front of them.
Right.
And I think that's an important lesson that not enough of our congressional members take with them into Congress, because they have, in my idea, they have the perception that I'm here and you should be happy I'm here, rather than I'm here to make you happy.
Right.
Different.
And, I was actually just having a conversation about our watch party that we're having in Windsor on Tuesday for the election. And there were some suggestions to make this like big about me. And I had to slow that down. And I said, no, this is not my day. This is a day for the voters. They're the ones who are going out and putting in this work. They are the ones who are talking to their friends and their families and influencing others, educating the people around them. They are the ones who are volunteering alongside of me, knocking doors. And, without that, I'm knocking doors just about every day, but I can't cover the entire 4th district on my own. And so this is a day for the voters. They're my bosses.
Right. I want to talk about something that Deb Flora brought up on the show a few days ago. She said, Lauren Boebert spent 2 years with Donald Trump as president.
No.
When you were there. That's not correct?
No.
That's what she said.
That's not correct.
Were you there when Donald Trump was president?
I was not.
Really? It was after.
I came in 2020.
Okay.
So while I was doing my freshman orientation, President Trump was in office. I visited him there in the White House.
But you were not in office. Okay,
no,
so she was wrong
I was
about
there,
that.
Correct. And so my first term was, we were sworn in, and 3 days later is January 6th as certification of the Electoral College results. And
Wow.
I was one of 146 legislators that objected to the certification of the Electoral College results, because we had seen hundreds of thousands of ballots be mailed out illegally.
Mhm.
We had seen states change their election law in the middle of an election. And it wasn't just the state legislatures like the Constitution directs. It was secretaries of states, attorney generals, rogue judges changing these election laws, like Pennsylvania. After the election day, they can turn in their ballots. Or Arizona, they were changing the registration day, and so much more. And so this was the basis of why I objected. And as you saw in the 9 News debate, no other opponent of mine would have objected to that certification of the Electoral College results. They all said they would have certified.
So you've never had a president in your party?
No.
While you've been in office?
No.
Okay, well,
It's been Joe Biden.
Yes. That brings up the case of like how you can pass bills, and
Right.
I when Mike Lynch brings that up, I was sitting there going, well, how many Lauren Boebert authored bills do you think Joe Biden's going to sign?
Right. Well, and the thing is, so they're focused on a standalone bill passing, one bill going through the House, through the Senate, signed by Joe Biden. And that's not the only way to get legislation passed in Washington, D.C. If it were, then we would only have single subject legislation. Right. And so I've had 75 legislative priorities signed into law. And there's about to be a lot more through this appropriations process that we're going into. So I'll be well over 100 by the end of the year. But these are things like I was mentioning: infrastructure, water storage, forest management, support for our first responders, our rural community hospitals, and so much more. Economic development in Clifton, Colorado, and creating jobs in Pueblo with my Pueblo Jobs Act, and so much more. So there have been over 75 legislative priorities that I have fought for, I have authored, that have been signed into law. But maybe we'll get back to your Deb Flora thing, but I just want to make it one caveat. So Kyle Clark, it was actually a well-played question there at the debate. He said, well, if you were the deciding vote on, say, the infrastructure bill or one of these omnibus bills where I did have legislative priorities that were wrapped up in there, he said, would you have voted for it? And I said, no, I wouldn't. And he was like, oh, case closed. And I said, no, but but that means it wouldn't pass. And we would have come back to the table and had an opportunity to get it right, because I'm not going to vote for omnibus bills or infrastructure bills that only 9% go to infrastructure when you're spending $1.2 trillion.
One thing I think people don't realize about you, because they see you in the headlines, all that stuff, you got a really good team.
Yes,
Jeff
I do.
Small
Yes,
still your chief?
Jeff Small, still my chief of staff. Yes.
He's a good guy.
Mhm.
He's got a lot of background in DC,
Mhm.
and he came over to your team. You've built a good team over the years.
Thank you. And yes, my chief has been with me from the beginning. He's actually from Colorado. He's from Jefferson County, and parents still live in Longmont, and he comes back here and visits all the time, but he is a good, solid man. And, he's a legislative workhorse. I mean, like we are continuously talking legislative policies with one another. I serve on the Natural Resources Committee, and that is why I hired Jeff Small, because he is so in tune to Colorado resources and our public lands and all of those things are oil and gas. And, I worked in the oil and gas industry for a while here in Colorado. And so this was a passion of mine to move forward with in DC. So Jeff is a great asset for our team.
Yeah, and it goes to your leadership and your ability to build teams like that, where you have good people to work with in your office. All right, so now you've got to change all the issues, because West Slope issues are a little different than Eastern Plains issues. How are you learning about the new district?
Yes, well, I think the biggest difference is representing a large swath of land that's privately owned. In the 4th district, it's the majority of the land is federal land, is public lands, and so there's a lot of direct correlation with the BLM, with the BOR, and dealing with these agencies under the Department of Interior, and so that is my biggest shift. If you go through like the Farm Bureau's census of what crops are in the 3rd district compared to the 4th, or what livestock we have in the 4th versus the 3rd, they're very similar. It's just the numbers are different. The 4th district has sugar beets. I've always advocated for the sugar beet industry. I didn't have a dang sugar beet in the 3rd district before. So I think that is the biggest difference. And then, of course, you have Douglas County, which is not very rural. And so to have this suburb of Denver in the district is a difference, but the values are still the same. Inflation is still impacting them. The cost of living is still impacting them. They want the government out of our children's business and schools. And so there are so many areas there and policies that I have been advocating for that still apply today.
Now, Deb's argument against you was that you have a ceiling. The people that like you are ultra MAGA, all that, and she's trying to win over independents, and the district now has a lot of unaffiliates, and they're not going to support you. She even said that, as a result of you, Adam Frisch may win CD3 against Jeff Hurd, and we may even lose Congressional District 4 if you're the nominee. Can you pull in unaffiliates and independents?
No faith, huh? So no, I actually, I'm surprised all the time. And I love meeting people who disagree with me because I feel like there's always a surprise to the upside. And so I have a lot of bipartisan legislation. Most of the legislation that I have authored and have introduced have come from meetings with county commissioners, with city council members, with stakeholders who are local, and they have a problem and they want to see it addressed. The San Luis Valley, they had a radar system that the National Weather Service would not connect to their system. They paid the money, they installed it. It was over $1 billion, and they couldn't connect it to the Weather Service. And so I got a hold of the Weather Service and ensured that was connected. And I can tell you at least 4 stories of real life rescues where lives were saved because of that. And, I have county commissioners, city council members, former mayors, current mayors who are Democrats who are continuously thanking me for my work. And this is something that I enjoyed building these coalitions. The legislation that I passed out of the House, it's been bipartisan. My Trust the Science Act to delist the gray wolf from the Endangered Species Act, that was bipartisan. I have passed over 75 amendments to legislation, and those, I think all but 2 are bipartisan, and I'm not compromising on my principles. I'm still a 100% conservative with that record to prove it. And I'm bringing them to our side with reason and conversations and building coalitions.
Talking with Lauren Boebert. She's a candidate for Congressional District 4, currently representing Congressional District 3, the Western Slope. She's moved on over and looking to represent the Eastern Slope. We're going to continue our conversation and take phone calls. Frank, we'll get to you in just a second, but give us a call. We do have an open line, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, if you'd like to talk directly and ask a question to Lauren Boebert, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. I want to talk to you about Joyce and Brent Tolliver with Roll 'em Out Shelves. This is a wonderful, small, Colorado-based business that is doing great work. They installed cabinets and shelves in our house, and we love and adore them. First of all, Joyce and Brent Tolliver believe in the values of this show. So when they come over, it's like having your mom and brother over. They are pro-life, pro-family, pro-faith. We talked all the great things we love about this country, and then we got to work, right? And they measured all, we don't have a big kitchen. They got into all the kind of nooks and crannies and were able to measure those out. But look, we've got deep cabinets, and we lost stuff back there that we couldn't remember. And then you have to, if you want to get to it, you have to pull out everything. It's such a pain. With Roll 'em Out Shelves, we got those installed, and we can easily access everything. They are a wonderful company. Begin the affordable transformation in your home for less than $1,000 when Roll 'em Out Shelves efficiently organizes your space with sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Give them a call for a free in-home estimate today, 303-475-9601 or rollemoutshelves.com. Be sure to tell them Jeff sent you, rollemoutshelves.com. All right, we'll continue with calls. They're starting to come in. Frank, you'll be up next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. A weather system in the Gulf of Mexico has strengthened into Tropical Storm Alberto, the first named storm of the hurricane season. The system is expected to make landfall Thursday morning in Mexico, but forecasters say the wild weather will also lash southern Texas. Texas Governor Greg Abbott preemptively declared a severe weather disaster for 51 counties late Wednesday, warning Texans along the coast about the dangers of flash flooding and storm surge. US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has underscored the US's ironclad support for the Philippines under its Mutual Defense Treaty. Kate Fisher has the story.
The State Department said that China's dangerous and deliberate actions were reckless and threatened regional peace and security. China claims sovereignty over much of the South China Sea, but that's disputed by many neighbouring nations, including the Philippines. Pressure is growing on the US to respond to China's aggression, and the Biden administration has reiterated that it will defend the Philippines under its Mutual Defense Treaty, but those threats are yet to deter China.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Lauren Boebert is in studio. She's the current representative representing Colorado Congressional District 3, Western Slope, but she's moved, and now she's in a competitive Republican primary. We had Deborah Flora on earlier this week. We had Jerry Sonnenberg on last week, Mike Lynch on last week, Peter Yu this morning. Everybody's been by because it's the final race. Tuesday is the day that this will all be decided. She's got President Trump's endorsement. She's out fundraised everybody. She's up in the polling. She's got the higher name ID, and she said she has locked it up and will be winning on Tuesday, which is a little different than everybody else. Everybody else was kind of like, well, we'll let the voters decide. But you, by the way, to your credit, I had some people in my life that were like, you know, I was a little torn on this race because there's a lot of good people in it. But when Kyle Clark asked who's going to vote for a convicted felon, Lauren Boebert's hand shot up first. She had no hesitation. And in light of that, I'm voting for her.
I love that. Well, I was in the courtroom with President Trump. He's under a gag order. And so we were going there to see exactly what was going on so we could speak on his behalf. How President Trump speaks for us all the time and has delivered for America, has put his family aside, his life aside, his big, beautiful life aside to fight for our country. And what an honor to have that personal opportunity to have that information to share to Americans when he can't speak of it.
Yeah. And to that point, there are people that are saying there's the conviction of Donald Trump that has told me we need the toughest, the sharpest elbows going to Washington, D.C., and that's why they're supporting you.
Yes.
So,
well, there is no doubt that I am tough and I'm not going to back down. I definitely have my principles in D.C. and I'm not moving from those.
all right. Well, let's see if you back down from these callers,
All right, let's
Lauren
go. I'm
Boebert.
ready.
All right, Frank, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show with Lauren Boebert. Good morning, Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Well, Lauren, I'd like to thank you for those principles and your conviction, and I appreciate your energy and sticking to your guns, no pun intended. But I'd like to ask you a two-parter. Going back to when you first got to Washington in 2020, what was one of the biggest revelations that you found or new things that you discovered about being a congressperson and, adapting to that? And then part number two, going forward, what do you see as our number 1, 2, and 3 problems for the U.S., biggest problems going forward into the future?
1, 2, and 3. Way to sneak that one in there. So I like it. So when I first arrived in Washington, D.C., it was all about stopping socialism. I wanted to go there and help President Trump. I believed he was going to be in office. Still believe that he won that election. There was a lot of interference, hiding the Hunter Biden laptop story, and so much more. So I went to go assist President Trump in his fight and stop this socialist movement. I have 4 boys. I do not want my boys to be raised in a socialist society. And, really AOC was almost my opponent. Everything that she was pushing for is what I was coming up against. And I was going there to stop it. There were many things that I would like to do, but my objective when I got there was to be the one who stopped all of the nonsense that was taking place and being forced on Americans, the overregulation, overspending, overtaxing, and destroying everything that we're working so hard to build. I wanted to go there and do what I said I would do, govern as I campaigned, because politicians don't do that. I took out a 5-term Republican who campaigned one way and governed another. And so that was my priority then. But when I got there, actually, this is kind of ironic nowadays, my favorite political book is Ken Buck's Drain the Swamp. It's my favorite book. And he has a chapter in there about freshman orientation. And so I was prepped on what to expect from leadership when I got to Washington, D.C., and how they will try to own my vote. My vote belongs to the citizens of Colorado, not to leadership in Washington, D.C., not to lobbyists, not to special interest groups. And Ken Buck's book was spot on.
What do you think happened to Ken?
Well, I mean, my first red flag when I got up there was his best friend was Liz Cheney. And, he defended.
He had served Dick Cheney when he was in Department of Justice.
Yes. And so yes, I saw a lot of red flags, and there were a lot of people who were close to him who had worked with him in the past who would come to me and say, "What's happening to Ken?" I'm like, I don't know. I just met the guy. So it was really disappointing. I had a front row seat for his downfall, and I mean, kind of a backslidden conservative. So I mean, he did have his last ditch effort to vacate Kevin McCarthy. which was bizarre to me. I don't know if that was to save face in front of conservatives, but during the speaker's race, Kevin McCarthy told him, I need you to have a situation back in Colorado that you need to fly back to, and you can't participate in the speaker's race. They needed their numbers, their threshold to actually get him a speaker to go down, and Ken listened, and he didn't come back until it was safe and Kevin McCarthy was going to be speaker, and he voted for him. I mean, you can look at the records. He voted for him maybe the last 2 or 3 votes, and that's when Kevin gave him the okay to come back to DC. But moving forward, our priorities, my priorities, obviously the southern border. We've got to put our country first. We've got to secure the border. All of my opponents say this. And it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to actually be working to do it. While they're talking, I am doing the work. I've passed amendments to defund sanctuary cities. I've introduced legislation to build the wall and deport them all. My opponents all criticize that deport them all phrase because they don't take it seriously. And all of them have supported amnesty in some sense. And that is not conservative to be pro amnesty and make excuses. And also with our southern border, we have the power of the purse in the House, and we need to use that to secure our southern border. So when the supplemental aid packages come up and there's almost $100 billion of deficit spending that we are borrowing money from China to send to these countries before we do anything to our border, I'm not going along with that. I'm not going to support something that puts America last, that we're furthering our $35 trillion in debt, that it was not single subject legislation. It all went together as one to be sent over the Senate, a $100 billion minibus, and provides more funding to Ukraine. All of my opponents want that. They would have supported the $9 billion to Hamas that was in that package. And that is not conservative. That's not what we should be doing with our majority. But the border is certainly the number one issue. And then, I mean, when it comes to Colorado specifically, our water is always a priority for me. I serve on a water, wildlife, and fisheries subcommittee, and I'm continuously trying to find ways to have more water storage throughout our state. No matter where I'm at, no matter what district the water storage project is available, I'm going to advocate for it because when the West has more water, well, then they can share more with the East, right? And so this is very important for me. Even recently introducing legislation to get Mexico in check because they are taking too much of our water as well. And then number 3,
a lot of people don't know that.
Right.
We sent water to Mexico.
We sure do. We sure do.
And you and I have both been part of the Western Caucus before, which is a gathering of senators and Congress people and then activists like myself that care about Western issues. And Nevada is so out of water, and California won't build desalination sites that they're looking to Mexico to build desalination to pump water back up into America. And I'm like, what's the one thing you always knew about Mexico? You didn't drink the water.
Right.
But we may need to start
Can we
taking
please have your water in
water.
Mexico?
Right.
Yes. Well, not only that, California refuses to build water storage anywhere. And the voters actually approved that and funded that through their taxes.
So it all washes into the ocean.
Hundreds of billions of gallons of water every single year just dumped into the ocean. But number 3, I'm going to take it. It's still a Colorado issue, but this is a nationwide issue. It is our weaponized federal government. And that is what we need to get in check. We have rogue bureaucrats who have got to go. We need to keep them in check or get rid of them. I brought back the Holman rule so we can target individual bureaucrats and reduce their salaries down to $1. And then, of course, that ties with...
I didn't know about that. We can do that?
Absolutely, we can. Fauci, you're the highest paid. Well, he was when he was there. You're the highest paid bureaucrat. Well, here's a buck for your thoughts. And then also with that is the individual appropriations bill. So we could go through that line item programmatic spending and say, hey, if you're a woke and weaponized part of our federal government, if you won't answer to Congress who created you, well, then maybe you shouldn't get funding. And we could go through that and actually do something about it.
Frank, I appreciate the call. We've just got to get to other calls here. Thanks so much. Frank's line will be open, though. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Let's go to Ben Morrison. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show with Lauren Boebert.
Hi, Ben.
Yeah. Hey, Lauren. I had a quick question for you.
Yep.
I've worked on the Arkansas Valley Conduit for about 6 years doing design, survey work, and all that stuff. And I'm kind of wondering why you're taking credit for a lot of that stuff when most of the issue that we've been dealing with for years on that has been funding. Mm-hmm. And what finally got that across the goal line was Build Back Better, which you voted against. So I'm wondering how you justify taking credit for that project.
Yes. So I have advocated, thank you so much for your work on that, by the way, but I have advocated for this approval and for funding for the Arkansas Valley Conduit. You know, this isn't something that I could use an earmark from Congressional District 3 for. Ken Buck wouldn't. I work to reform the earmark process. That's the only reason I push for them this Congress. There are many levels of support that I can offer for something like the Arkansas Valley Conduit. I was even invited to the ribbon cutting ceremony. But the infrastructure bill, I mentioned this earlier, $1.2 trillion, only 9% of that went to actual infrastructure. I introduced legislation that would take unspent COVID funding, about $650 billion, and it would be 100% infrastructure. This is why I wanted single subject legislation and fought to get that and got it in this Congress, because Nancy Pelosi would play this con game of titling a bill one way and then the text does something completely different, or just a small portion of what the title entails. And so I think that was a bad piece of legislation. There was a lot of waste in that legislation. There are also some really good things in that bill. I'm not going to discount that, but my overall vote for that is not going to be to approve something that is titled infrastructure when only 9% of the funding goes towards that.
But don't you think it feels disingenuous to say that you
No, I don't, because
you voted against it?
In Washington,
you voted against it, didn't you?
I did. In Washington, D.C., a yes or a no vote is not the only way to actually accomplish something. There is still work behind the scenes to advocate for certain projects. And even after the legislation is passed over the line, there is still advocacy work to be done to ensure that projects get finished. Just because I don't like the bill in its entirety doesn't mean that there aren't great pieces in there that I have fought for all along the way. And we could say this with omnibus spending bills. I'm not for multi-thousand-page bills that spend trillions of dollars that we have 22 hours to read. Doesn't mean there's not good things in there that our country needs, and those tax dollars need to come back to Colorado to fund important projects. Like I mentioned before, if I were the deciding vote, I would still vote no, so we could go back to the table and find a way to separate it out and actually pass good, meaningful legislation that isn't filled with a bunch of wasteful junk.
Ben, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. And good answer, Lauren. Feel free to give Lauren a call if you'd like. Representative Boebert is joining us in studio, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710KNUS app. Her website, laurenforcolorado.com. laurenforcolorado.com. You can read about accomplishments, endorsements, news, media, how you can get involved. This race coming up to a finish this Tuesday. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're closing up here. Lauren Boebert, give your closing arguments real quick.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in today. Jeff, Bill, thanks so much for having me in studio. The ballots are in your mailboxes, probably on your kitchen counter, and those are due back on Tuesday, June 25th. Don't forget to go to the bottom of your ballot to elect Greg Lopez for the rest of the year. I am the
We're out of time.
I'm
It's
the
the Jeff
proven
and Bill
conservative.
Show.
Vote for me.